I was 17 years old when I got my heart broke. It was young love, my first girlfriend, and I was infatuated. But my heart was broke just the same. That was in May of 1990. And that September, I was in Bismarck, North Dakota with my friend Dave listening to the new Warrant album, Cherry Pie. And I was super excited to hear this song, I Saw Red, that Jani Lane had been talking about in an interview in Metal Edge magazine. He said it was the best song he'd ever written. And when the song finished playing, I had tears running down my eyes because somehow he had captured exactly what I had felt when my first relationship ended. And that's when Jani Lane became my favorite songwriter. Later that year, I would get the song tattooed on my right forearm. 5 years later, I got a second Jani Lane's tattoo. The song Stronger Now from the Ultraphobic record would go on my right shoulder. So to say I was devastated when he passed away 15 years ago today would be an understatement. But his memory lives on. So tonight on Hair Metal Chaos Live, Stevie Rachelle and I, as well as two special guests, former Warrant guitarist and Jani's close friend Billy Morris and Black and Blue singer Jamie St. James, who also did a few years in Warrant after Jani left. Well, tonight we're paying tribute to the song and dance man right after this.
Metal Chaos with the Guru and Rachelle.
Oh, let's get me in the stage. Let's get rid of Charlie. How do I get rid of Charlie? And let's add Stevie Rachelle. And Stevie Rachelle, welcome back to the show.
I had to turn my light on because if I don't have it on, it's a little dark. But
Hey, I think you kind of look better. I think you look better the other way. No, I'm just
better
kidding.
better in the dark. Hey, Anthony, how are you? And hey to everybody out there in YouTube land. It is Tuesday, August 11th, and as I said earlier today, I made a little video announcement, a little video commercial to let everybody know that today is the 15th anniversary of the sad and unfortunate passing of Jani Lane. And we're going to talk about him tonight on Hair Metal Chaos, and it's all going to be good. Try not to be sad at any point, but we have some guests, as Anthony said as well, and here we are. Thanks a lot for tuning in, and Anthony.
Yeah, and hey, and if you're watching, first of all, thank you. There's already 178 people here, and you know, if you don't mind spreading the word, telling people, hey, they're live now, and like I said, we have Billy Morris coming in who played with Warrant and did a bunch of solo stuff with Jani, and they were close friends. He's going to be coming in at about 27 minutes at 7:30 p.m. Central Time. We're going to have him on for about 20, 30 minutes. And then Jamie St. James from Black and Blue, who replaced Jani and Warren, is going to be coming in at about 8 Central Time. And we're just going to talk about our thoughts on Jani, our memories, and share some cool stuff. And like Stevie said, you know, we're going to try to stay on the positive side. But, you know, I mean, the guy is a legend. And, you know, kind of like I said in the intro, I think a lot of people relate to the fact that for some reason he wrote a lot of songs that just connected with a lot of people. And I've said this before, that if you saw him live, he had a way of making you feel like you were important at that show, even if there were thousands of people there. So it was tragic when he passed away 15 years ago. I still remember, you know, a buddy of mine texting me and saying that, hey, Lane's dead. And I was like, holy shit. It was just a crazy experience. But we're going to get into all that. But I still want to, we're still going to talk about some of the things that are going on Metal Sludge. We're going to talk about some of the things that are going on the Hair Metal Guru. And we've already got a ton of people in the comments. So I'd love to be able to mention some of the people. J629, my buddy on X, who has been supporting the channel for a long time. We've already got some super chats, and we're going to get into your questions. So, hey, I'll say this right now before we get into what's going on Metal Sludge. Hey, share a favorite Jani memory. share a question that maybe you were unsure of, that you think maybe one of us or a Billy Morris or a Jamie St. James can answer. But
Mm-hmm.
we're already over 200 people, so let's get into the stuff that's going on Sludge and the Hair Metal Guru lately. And Charlie wants to say hi. Charlie, yeah, you're very popular. Yeah, everybody likes you so much. How come everybody like you so much? Anyway, Stevie,
Charlie's
what's
awesome.
what's oh, Charlie's the best. Charlie's the best. Stevie, what's going on Metal Sludge lately?
Well, there's been a couple things I plugged this last week. I plugged Heaven's Edge released a new single called "What He's Got" or "What's He Got," and the record they're going to be putting out on Frontiers. I think it's coming out in November. It's called Philadelphia, which is where they're from. And on the cruise, I had met Mark Evans probably about 10 years ago. I think we played Rock and Skull together, and that was the
All
first
right.
time, if my memory serves me correct, that I met Mark, the singer. And then on the cruise a few years ago, I met Reggie for the first time. Awesome guy,
Mhm.
um,
Oh,
super awesome guy, just the nicest guy. And what's crazy is, Tough has some connection to Philadelphia uh, in that area in some ways, because obviously we had a manager, Brian Kushner from Power Star, also managed Britney Fox, who were a Philadelphia band, and obviously were the remnants of Cinderella. And Cinderella, Britney Fox, John Corabi and his band, which was called Raggedy Andy, I believe. Then they became Angora when they moved to Los Angeles, and Heaven's Edge. Those are a handful of the bands that really made up that whole scene in Philadelphia. And as I said, our
right.
manager used to manage Britney Fox, so we ended up doing some shows with them. We re-recorded part of our second record, Religious Fix, in Ben Salem, Pennsylvania, outside of Philadelphia, with Randy Canner, who's from Philadelphia. Um, and he had affiliations with, was affiliated with Tangier. Is it Tangier or Tangiers? So
Tangier.
there's all kinds of connections. And again, Reggie was just the nicest guy when I met him on the cruise, and
Oh,
we've been friends. And so I just plugged their new single, which is called "What's He Got." It's going to be out on Philadelphia on Frontiers in November. It's a great song. There's the four original guys. Obviously, their bass player Gigi George passed away from a cancer battle about 6 years ago. They've carried on the band, and they got, I think his name is Jaron on bass. Cool guy,
yeah.
sweetheart.
Yep.
And that was something I plugged this week. Cool song, cool video, great guys. And they got a lot of good history. So support Heaven's Edge and check out their new song and their new record coming out.
I played it on Hair Metal Mansion this last weekend,
Oh, okay.
and it's not always that when a band puts out a new song that people are messaging me going, "Holy shit, you got to check this out." The new
Right.
Heaven's Edge song came out, and people were messaging me saying, "Dude,
It's good.
check this out." And so played it this weekend, and I've interviewed Reggie. I'm working on an interview with Mark Evans, but Reggie, he is. Fuck, I feel like I'm freezing up. Am I freezing up or some crazy
You're
shit?
freezing up again, but you're good
Yeah.
now.
But
I
I'm
see
good.
you.
So I'm gonna quit my iMovie, and I'm gonna quit my email, because sometimes when I have tabs open, sometimes
Yeah.
when I have too many tabs on my computer and too many tabs right here, I get all fucked up. But
I did the
Reggie
same
Wu,
thing. I did the same
go
thing. I
ahead.
turned a bunch of stuff off because it kind of
Yes.
messes with the StreamYard, I think.
Yes. But Reggie Wu is the nicest fucking guy. When I interviewed, I'm like, dude, he's like asking me all these questions about me, and I'm like, holy shit! Like, I just want to be best friends with Reggie Wu. So
Yeah.
anyway, go check out What's He Got, and I will absolutely be buying the CD when the Heaven's Edge Philadelphia album comes out. So anyway, my first thing that I'd like to talk about is I did an interview with Shandon Song from Pariah, and Pariah they're from Texas. They got
Yep.
signed in 89, 90 by Geffen Records. But Geffen was the home of Nirvana and Guns N' Roses. So when the Guns N' Roses Use Your Illusion albums came out, Pariah got put on the back burner.
Mm.
And their CD, To Mock a Killing Bird, which is great, came out in 93. instead of maybe 91. And that 2 years was huge. The CD kind of gets lost in the grunge shuffle. Their bass player, Sims Ellison, who actually dated Renee Zellweger before she became a movie star. I'm not saying it's because the band didn't hit, but for whatever reason, he took his own life in 1995. The band kind of folded after that. But Shandon Sahm has an amazing story. Besides being in Pariah, his dad, Doug Sahm, is a Texas music legend. He was on the cover of Rolling Stone twice in 1968 and 1971. And Shandon went on to play with Gibby Haynes from the Butthole Surfers. He played with the Meat Puppets. He's still doing music. He lives in Amsterdam, but it was a 2-hour interview telling the whole history of Pariah. So great interview. So that's my first thing.
Great, great stuff. I watched part of it. I've known Shandon and those guys forever. I was actually friends with Sims first. He wrote us because we were in the Metal Edge, wrote our fan club, and him and I became friends in 88 or 89. And then when we played Austin at the Back Room in 1990 for the first time, Sims was there at Soundcheck, and him and I hung out. And then a week later, we were playing a show with them guys. It was Tough, Pariah, and a band called Triple X. We played at a club in San Antonio, and that was January of 90. And then, Sims and I kept in contact over the years. When he came out here, I remember I was hanging out with him at FM station, and he was telling me about they were recording their record, and they ran into Madonna in the studio, and she was going to shoot a video, and she's like, hey, you guys can be in my video. And he's like, no way, But yeah, Sims was just a sweetheart of a guy. His brother was the guitarist. Shandon obviously was a drummer. Dave was a singer. All good guys. And yeah, it was a horrible, horrible situation when Sims ended up taking his own life. Sad.
Yeah. Yep. So what's your second thing that's going on Metal Sludge?
Number 2 is I did a little article on the Jet Setters, which is a very cool band that Tommy London sings in. He's from Hair Nation, of course, and various other Sirius XM radio channels. He's been doing that for a while. He's been singing as well. This is not his first project. He had some other projects that he's put out over the years. And Britt Lightning, his girlfriend, also the guitarist in the Jet Setters and the guitarist in Vixen. I did a little plug on their new thing, which I made a little note. What is the name of that song? Beyond the Noise is
Above the Noise. Above the Noise.
Above the Noise. And cool song, cool old school kind of MTV kind of video.
Yep.
I think, is Tommy kind of doing like a Max Headroom thing or something with the mask and stuff?
Exactly.
Yeah, so really cool, very hooky too. And
totally.
Tommy and Britt are great people, and they're sweethearts, both of them. And it's catchy and it's hooky. It's pop rock. It's not hard. It's not metal. It's not glam rock, but it's a little poppy. But it absolutely is hooky, and I dig it. So that was the second thing I gave a little love to on the Sludge this week.
Played Above the Noise on Hair Metal Mansion as well. I'm
Awesome.
always trying to do, at whatever my level is to help these bands out, with playing Zan, Cody, Heaven's Edge, the Jet Setters. So I try to do a little bit here and there. So yeah, it's a great song. The second thing I'm going to talk about is I put out a video today, and it was sometimes we do serious topics. I do a lot of interviews and I want to tell the stories, but sometimes we just want to cut loose and have fun. So we put out a video today with the Roundtable crew. Albums we used to love, but now we hate. And it was hilarious because some of the albums that we still love got shit on by other guys. Like Patrick shit on Cinderella Long Cold Winter. I shit on Def Leppard Hysteria. So it was it reminds you of back in the day. You're like, that's my favorite album. And you're saying it sucks. Anyway, the video came out today. It's doing really well on YouTube. And so if you're looking for something to maybe give a little bit of music talk and a little bit of humor, that was a really fun video. So check that out.
I haven't watched it yet. Hopefully I didn't make that video.
Tough did not make that video. There are some big surprises in the video.
Or any of my solo records, which there are 4, by the way.
That's right. And
So,
you can buy those at metalsludge.tv.
of course, you can buy them in the store. You can buy them at Amazon, or you can buy them at eBay. Just search
Hell,
Stevie Rachelle Tough or Tough CDs, or you'll find it.
yep. Yep. We have 269 people in here already, and
Awesome.
that's fantastic. Thank you guys.
Yeah, and
Have you got a couple more things?
we're only 15 minutes in. Yeah.
Hell yeah. What
Third
else
thing
you
I want
got?
to third thing I want to plug tonight is Mark Weiss, the very awesome, legendary rock and roll photographer. I consider him to be in the Mount Rushmore of rock
Yeah.
photographers for me.
Yeah.
Um, I put Zloz at number one. Zloz is a
Yeah.
sweetheart. He's a West Coast guy. Mark's an East Coast guy, but Mark is definitely in the Mount Rushmore. But Mark's doing a cool thing. He's doing I guess it's kind of like when you what do they call it, exhibition in New
Yep.
Jersey. He's doing it this weekend. I think he's done it in the past, but the final weekend, or the final day, is this Sunday the 16th, and it's in New Jersey. It's actually I don't know where it's at in New Jersey, but if you go to Metal Sludge, or if you look online, it's called Back to the Beginning: Remembering Ozzy Osbourne, the legend that he is, the life, the music, the lifestyle. And Mark Weiss will be there. It's in the afternoon for a few hours. It's in the New Jersey area. So anybody in the tri-state area could probably get there. And Mark will be there. He's also going to have his books, The Decade That Rocked, his magazines, Rocked Mag, and various prints. And obviously he's displaying a whole bunch of killer shots of Ozzy, from over the years. Mark's got stuff that's going way back. Great stuff, funny stuff. Ozzy was a character, I mean, he had the cool rock shots, but he also just had remember when he shaved his head, or when he took photos wearing, wearing women's dresses and,
Yep.
and it's funny when the song Crazy Babies came out, I remember thinking that was a great song. And I didn't really, I guess, put two and two together that they wrote that idea around the fact that he at that point had become a father a couple of times and he had babies. And I guess it was, perhaps maybe the babies weren't crazy, but the dad was crazy. And,
Right.
Ozzy did photos with the kids when they were little. And Mark's got a ton of great stuff. So look up Mark Weiss on social media, check out the article on Sludge, and go, if you're in the tri-state area or anywhere drivable, go check out Mark Weiss with his exhibition this weekend. It's dedicated to Ozzy.
Awesome. Awesome. My third, and we had Mark Weiss on to talk Bon Jovi a
Yeah,
few
we
weeks
did.
ago,
We
whenever
did.
that was. So that was awesome. My third thing. So I almost feel kind of not like, should I be taking professional photographs? Well, I guess so. And here I'm going to answer this question because Rebecca says, how long will you guys go? We always go 2 hours. And usually we end up going like 2 hours and 10 minutes. So
We'll
I just
probably
wanted
go a little
to,
longer tonight with it being a
and
special night. And we got a couple of guests, so we'll probably go over
yep.
2 hours.
We'll probably go over 2 hours. But I went to Lincoln, Nebraska, because I have a good friend, Tammy Stiskel, who does photography. So we started chatting. She had messaged me about some of my interviews, and we formed a friendship. And she is awesome. So we have been hanging out a little bit here and there. And she does photography on the side. So I went down. And I'm just going to point out this
Awesome.
is her Instagram page, Tammy Stiskel Photography. And I just, not that I'm nothing to look at, but if you can make an old bald fuck like me look halfway decent, you know, then you probably have some photography talent. So I'm going to show a couple pictures, so that I took with Tammy, and like I said, I just think you should follow her on Instagram, and that Instagram page will show her website and all that thing. So I wanted to thank her for doing these photographs by letting people know about her and show a little bit of her work. I'll also point out that this shirt is a Metal Babe shirt by our friend Allison Masson.
Oh, awesome.
And she had popped up on the Hair Metal Chaos live show that we did at the Rainbow. Here's a couple more, and I'm almost done with this. So anyway, photographs by Tammy Stiskel Photography in Lincoln. She's awesome. And go check out her Instagram page. And if you're in that area, by all means, have her do some photography work for you. So there you go.
Is she related to Stiskel and Ebert?
Stiskel and Ebert, yeah, they what didn't they like review ice cream flavors or some shit? Was it 32 flavors? No,
I
anyway.
joke. Hi, Tammy. You're awesome. I know Tammy, and I know her friend Amy. I've known them for some years.
Yeah.
They're great gals. They like music, good people, and she also does great photography. Now that I've seen some of that, I think I knew that she was a photographer, but now that
Yeah.
you went and did that, she's probably selling your photos to TMZ right now for big bucks. You know?
Yeah, you might get 25 cents a piece for those. You sell enough of them, fuck, you're going to buy yourself a dilly bar. No, I'm just kidding. So, yes, Tammy Stiskel Photography. And now that we have done those things, we have about 9 minutes before we get Billy Morris here. So I want to go through a couple of these questions, and then we'll get Billy in here. And I'm going to start with the super chats. Like I always say, we don't just answer super chats, but we do appreciate people who are willing to donate and help us make more content. So thank you. So this is from J629. Thank you very much. And he's awesome. Follow Jay on X. He's a great friend of mine. Says, so glad you and Stevie are doing this tribute. I've always been a huge Warrant fan. They are the first band I ever saw live. In my opinion, Jani was the greatest frontman and songwriter. He will forever be missed. Jay, you're absolutely right. He and I have talked about the Dog Eat Dog album like crazy. So, Jay, thanks a lot, and thanks for that great comment.
Keep going. I got to get some ice.
Get some ice there, Stevie. Here, I'll keep going with this. And shit, Jay, are you back again? J629. I just got a text from Tammy. Tammy, you're welcome. J629 says, Stevie, will the full Tough Show from the Whiskey be up on YouTube eventually? From the
No.
few clips I've seen, it was a killer show, best show on YouTube. And no, Stevie says, no, I will be. And I know I've been talking about, like, I fucking suck at getting behind on shit. So I have clips from that show. I still have not put out any of my footage from LA because it's a nightmare to organize. I have so many pictures and things. And also I've kind of been just saying, hey, let's get away from LA for a little while. So then people are like, oh wow, hey, I get to see all that stuff that they were talking about a couple weeks ago. So
Right.
Stevie says, no, it will not be on YouTube.
Well, we didn't professionally film it, for starters. Some
Right.
fans did take some videos, and there are a couple of videos online. I've seen Ruck Up at Bridge. I've seen Good Guys Were Black. I've seen I Kiss You Goodbye. And actually, it actually sounds and looks pretty good. The lighting there, the sound system at the Whiskey is actually just, it's amazing. It really is. And those are just YouTube videos, but in talking to my friends, even the guys in Wildside, they said it sounded really good. My buddies from Wisconsin, everybody said the sound was great there. The quality of the production there, the lights, everything, it's pretty epic. And it has to be. I mean, it's one of the world's most famous rock clubs, and they host shows there literally like 25 nights a month or more. And so they've got to have top-notch stuff, and they do. It sounded great. But no, we will not be putting – I won't be putting it up unless somebody recorded the whole thing. But
Right.
I don't think anybody wanted to stand there for an hour plus with their iPhone up the whole time.
But go watch what you can because it was a phenomenal show. We are over 300 people in less than 30 minutes. That is fantastic. So, hey, spread the word if you can. And we got a couple more super chats, and we'll try. And I'm also starring other people's comments. When I say starring, that means so I can go find them later to answer some of your questions. The CD 5150, my awesome friend from X, and it says, hope you all doing well. And I knew, brother, he just got into a car accident. So he says, recovering from a single car crash, neck is still stiff. Will blast Uncle Tom's Cabin after the stream. Rest in peace, Jani Lane. Hey, brother, sorry to hear about that accident, man. I hope you're doing okay. And dude, here you are, you get into an accident and you're donating to us. I feel like we should probably be doing something for you, but man, thank you so much.
Unless you get a huge settlement, then we'll expect a little bit more next time.
Then
But
then we'll take 20% and you can keep 80. You can keep 80. All right. Awesome. Very cool. And let's see, what do we got next? J629. Hey, oh, let's get that later when Jamie is here. And let's do a couple more. Mr. Neil Phipps, Anthony, and Stevie, what's your favorite Warrant album and song? Janie is my favorite. Well, I'll say that my favorite album is Dog Eat Dog, and I'm so torn. I Saw Red will always have a special place for me because it came at a time in my life where it was important. I love Stronger Now. I have tattooed on my shoulder. So I'll just start with those. Janie or Stevie, do you have a favorite Warrant song or a Janie
well,
song?
my favorite Jani Lane song would probably be "Dear Jani Lane," that I penned and put out on the "Hey, That's What I Call Sludge" compilation from 2003, and Janie actually liked it. He said, "You know, Stevie, I like your songs. They're kind of campy." That's what he called it. Obviously, everybody remembers that song, or if you don't, go Google it. "Dear Jani Lane" by Tough. But I would say "Blind Faith."
Oh,
the
yeah.
the acoustic version of that is unbelievable, you
Yeah.
know. And as
Yep.
a singer and a lyricist, Janie, meaning me being a singer and a writer and a lyricist, Janie had a really really special ability to weave together
Mm.
lyric and melody and just place pieces in certain positions throughout the song that you know, he did have a special talent for sure. Blind Faith is absolutely a standout for me. Of course, the Uncle Tom's Cabin song is amazing.
Yeah.
The video is amazing, and
Oh,
it's also cool but heavy. It's dynamic. It starts out with that little intro, and I mean, there's a ton of great songs. Sad Teresa, they used to play that in the clubs. Stronger Now, which was years later, and it's such a meaningful song with such a great message. I didn't personally like Dog Eat Dog. Most of it I thought was, I think they were, as a lot of our bands were, we were trying to adjust or fit
yep.
in or be accepted, and because of everything that was happening around us, it caused everybody to maybe do some things or take some chances or do things a little heavier or a little bit outside of the box from what we might expect from ourselves or our fans might expect. But obviously there's tons of great stuff. And but I'd say Blind Faith for me, for sure.
Awesome. Here's James from the Whiskey A Go Go. James, fucking A, you're the
So,
man. We were hanging out at the Whiskey and at the Rainbow. He was showing us around. He brought me and Jeremy over to the Viper Room when when Fire and Ice, John Torres band was playing.
yep. Hmm.
So James says Janie was an amazing songwriter. He deserves respect from the music industry, which he has never gotten. James from the Whiskey A Go Go, you're the man. And dude, all the people in my crew, we all say exactly what you said. Like he kind of got the reputation from Cherry Pie. Oh, it's sexist. The lyrics are juvenile. And those of us that were really true fans, you found the songs like Stevie was talking about, the Blind Faith and the things where you're like, you know what, to say that this guy wasn't an amazing songwriter meant that you really never looked at his songwriting.
Well, and I will say this. When he says right here that Janie never got the respect, I don't believe that. I believe he did get respect. I think he got a ton of respect. But the thing is, certain things outweigh the next, meaning take, for instance, Poison. Poison was a band that everybody thought, okay, they're not the greatest musicians, or the songs were simple. And when you do hear songs like, I grab my hat, I grab my shoes, tonight I'm going to hit the street and cruise, it's like, that's pretty cat in the hat, elementary lyric and rhymes. But at the end of the day, they sold millions and millions of records, and they did put together a couple of undeniable hits. You can't not listen to Talk Dirty to Me or Nothing But a Good Time and not be in a good mood,
Yep.
or hear Every Rose or something to believe in and say, there's a meaningful song. Jani had a ton of that as well, where he could write a cherry pie song, you know, with all the fun, lyrics with the cliche stuff. But then at the same time, he's writing something as serious as Stronger Now or Blind Faith, and even Heaven. When they played Heaven in the clubs, they would play Gazaris, and there wasn't a record. There wasn't a CD. I mean, people were sharing their demo tapes, but even by
Yep.
watching the band 3, 5, 7, 8 times a year, people would literally be singing along. And when they
Yeah.
started that song, Janie could step back and the crowd would sing it. They did the same thing with Sad Teresa, which I don't even think was that on the first record or not? I don't think it was.
No, it was on
I think
Dog Eat
it,
Dog, but
yeah, it came years
they
later.
were playing it 80 and 87 at
Exactly.
Gazari's.
Exactly.
Yep.
So I think that Janie did get respect. And I think at some point, um, the cherry pie guy shadow that he
Yeah.
could not get out from under is a similar shadow that perhaps Bobby Brown couldn't get out from under, being the cherry pie girl, or even, sidebarring from her, a girl like Pamela Anderson not being taken serious as an actress, or,
Right.
or Suzanne Summers, So when you're in entertainment, there's going to be the critics. There's going to be those that will not give you your due, you know.
Yep.
John Ritter, was an amazing actor, and we've heard all these great things about him. But his character was this goofy guy
Yep.
in Three's Company, you know? So I think that, it's a shame that 15 years ago that Janie left, because I think had he been able to stick around a few more years, he would have been able to maybe come full circle with all this. And, the things that people used to think about Poison or just our music in general, encapsulated by other parts of the industry, I think a lot of those people have come forward now and or come full circle to go, you know what? These bands are decent. They were good. There was some fun here. There was some elements of success and brought a lot of joy to a lot of people.
Well, you know who's going to add a whole bunch to this conversation about Jani Lane? And
Billy
as I
Morris.
bring in Billy Morris, I'm going to put up this last super chat. Somebody by the name of Jani Lane says, "Me and Jimmy watch your show every week up here. Hey, cool. That's awesome. I appreciate it. And let's bring in, drum roll, please, Billy Morris, formerly
Yes.
of Warrant and currently in the Billy Morris band, and played with Janie's solo stuff. Great friend Billy, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me. It's an honor to be on this Memorial Day. Check out my shirt.
Hell yeah, hell yeah.
Awesome.
I did one of the Janie Lane tributes, and a fan brought this shirt out to me and saved it for this occasion. So there we go.
Awesome.
Billy, I think, and we did an interview, but we have 317 people here. That's amazing. Can can you, like, when do you meet Jani Lane? And I think, let's refresh people on that, and how does that relationship start with you guys?
Well, I remember it, like we remember the big moments of our life. Um, I was at a club in Kent, Ohio, Kent State University called Filthy McNasty's. And um, we have a mutual friend, Jeff Hare, who Stevie's worked with, and he's one of the biggest soundmen in the world. He's Man of War soundman currently. He holds the Guinness World Book of Record for the loudest concert ever. But back in
Wow.
86, 85, 86, we were all just in the clubs playing. And I think, you know, at that moment, Janie was there, and Jeff had said to me, "You see that kid that guy right there? He's going to be a rock star someday." So he introduced me, and we struck up a friendship. And I watched from afar, his career. I would get some board tapes that Jeff would give me, which were interesting. The band would play Hollywood. They'd have board cassette tapes, and you'd hear the screaming fans and the great songs. But they were young. They were players. The guitars were a little out of tune here and there, and the sound wasn't up to par. But I watched him from afar that way through Jeff Hare, and we still remain friends. So when Warrant became big, the first time they came through town was they played Peabody's Down Under. and it was Warrant and DeMalls on tour.
Hmm.
And we opened. My band got the opening slot. Spoiled with a Y, Spoyld, and we, you know, we were Cleveland's version of, well, first we were Poison, and then we were Guns N' Roses, and you know, we
Right.
followed all the trends. And every time, and you know, Janie was friends of mine, and he kind of kept up with what I was doing. And every time he'd come into town, he'd be like, "Hey, book your band." And I'll bring the band out after. We want to jam with you guys. I'm like, cool. So that's how our friendship was. But then once we, you know, once we he came into town, and maybe there was a Browns game going on. So I'd pick him up in the morning. We would go to a Browns game, or he'd come into town for, you know, the holidays, and I'd come over and sit in the living room with him and talk to his parents and stuff. And there were some good times sitting in the living room, and I sat in the living room with him when his parents passed away. So, you know, Janie and I had such a wide, you know, relationship, whether it was on stage rocking, within the studio writing some songs, or it was sitting in the living room on Thanksgiving, or mourning the death of a parent. You know, we were friends that way. And you know, he was such a great man with some
Yeah.
demons, with some demons.
Right.
And
Yep.
obviously, you know, we're here today talking about those demons and how it tragically ended his life early. He ended his life so early, he had so much more to give. But I know we want to talk about good times. So that's how our
What?
friendship started, but it blossomed
Yeah.
into a really close relationship, not just music, but, you know, long talks, long phone calls, long hotel. We roomed together for years, you know, long
Yeah.
hotel uh, conversations, or doing each other hair, you know, buying aluminum foil and putting foils in her hair, and looking at each other and like, on tour, Sports Center for the fifth time, you know.
Right.
So we had a lot of good times together.
Two things I want to quick ask you. One, when you first met him or saw him when Jeff Hare pointed him out, was he playing drums or was he
No,
singing?
he wasn't. He was at the club just hanging out.
Okay, so he was just
Yeah.
hanging out.
He
And
was in town for the holidays. Yeah.
the second thing I want to say, and I know this about you because you and I have a similar relationship, that Janie also bonded with you because you like sports. And
Yes.
Yeah.
Janie loved football and all that stuff. And he would be the guy, like you said, when you were in the bus, it didn't matter if you guys stayed up till 7 in the morning on a Saturday night. An hour later, he was like, dude, we need to find a TV set right now.
Yeah.
Whether it
Well,
was a college game or an NFL game, right? He was a
yeah.
sports guy, so you guys had you locked in that way as friends,
I'll tell you one story. We were I don't know if you remember this game, but we were in Texas on tour, and the whole band was off the bus. Me and him were fixated at the Browns Chiefs game. Just me and
right?
him, because we we're the only
Mm-hmm.
Browns fans, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So our linebacker um sacks the Chiefs quarterback on the last play of the game, and me and him are jumping up and down. We won the game. This is fantastic. And all of a sudden, our linebacker rips his helmet off, and the play wasn't over. And they got an extra play, kicked a field goal and beat us. We were so pissed. We were
Oh,
so mad. But that was one thing that you know, I tell this, and the truth is, I got in the band for a lot of reasons. Obviously, the bottom line was I could play the guitar parts, I could sing the harmonies, I had long hair, I was, you know, a good musician. But the other part of it was he needed an Ohio guy to relate to.
Yeah.
So he couldn't talk Browns, Indians, Cavs, Ohio State Buckeyes, which he loved, to anybody on the bus, because they just didn't have that passion for, you know, Ohio sports the way that I did and he did.
right.
So it was a good relationship that way. And I realized, you know, I probably got the gig over somebody else because I had that, you know, attribute that I could offer to the camp.
Mm-hmm.
What did you know about? Because I hear people talking about all the time about how Jani Lane was this big sports star, and but what do you know about his past? Like maybe in high school, like playing sports. Do you know anything
Oh,
about that?
he was a star athlete in sports. You know, he was competitive. I don't know if the Ohio boys have that competitive streak, but me and him were super competitive. But he was a star, high school sports star at Field High School. We would always relish to be able to play anybody in football in the parking lot or a field. some broken noses in between the tour buses, some blood,
Right.
but we loved playing football. Another thing that we were competitive, we would go into a club anywhere. And, we were Midwest guys, so we grew up playing foosball. He taught me foosball. We would go
Hmm.
in and play, and we would just wham, slam the ball real hard. And we had such a good time playing foosball for years. And yeah, he was an athlete. He was an athlete, and he was talented that way too. And I
And
think at
Um.
one
and
point he told me
competitive,
he liked to race
competitive.
dirt bikes too. He had a dirt bike too.
Okay.
And obviously, he moved to California and he did his thing, and I did all my thing. And then later years of my life, I got back into the dirt bikes. But I heard he was a good dirt bike rider too. And I hear stories from his brother, Eric Oswald. When we get together in the studio or we talk on the phone, our conversations will go on, and we'll talk about Jani and talk about his prior sports career and the things that he was into. And he was a great cook too.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So
Right.
I remember going over his house when we were going to start doing this hi-fi club. He was going to, help me with the kitchen and help design the menu. And he had the Jani Lane Captain Morgan's barbecue sauce, which is delicious. I may have touched on a few of these topics, but as long as we're talking about it,
No, go
um,
ahead.
somebody just
You see that guy's comment? Go
Billy,
Steelers.
did you see that?
Oh, I see that. Yeah, go Steelers, go Browns,
I'm a
baby.
Steelers fan too. Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry,
All
man.
right. Well,
Okay, I'll get
we'll
rid
see a
of
lot this
that.
summer or this fall and stuff. But I touched on this maybe in an interview with you, but his favorite hot sauce was Crystal's. So he made his buffalo wing sauce, but he would only use Crystal's hot sauce. So to this day, my preferred hot sauce is Crystal's hot sauce, which you can get at Walmart or Kmart or something. We
Wow.
cooked a lot. He taught me how to make his version of a tuna melt. And
Right.
we would try to go with, like, if we played a bar and the bar had a restaurant or a kitchen in there, we'd go back and try to cook. We'd make things up. I remember, and I told this story many times, but he loved food. Tour bus be going down the road. I'd be sleeping in the middle of the night. The curtain on my bunk would open. I was like, dude, I got you the red bomb burrito. Dude, get up, let's eat this burrito. I'd do it because it was Janie. He'd give me the burrito, and we'd eat burritos at 2 in the morning.
When did you like even if it was before Warrant's debut album? When did you kind of realize like there is something different about this guy musically versus all of the other guys that were playing the clubs in Cleveland? When did you kind of go, holy shit, this guy's gonna do it?
Well, he was an all-around great musician on drums first, and he he could write a song every day. But I guess the first thing that I really never really saw Warrant until they came in with Demols, but I was getting those board tapes, and I just remember like my band playing some of not covering the songs, but like playing some of the riffs and thinking that, wow, this primitive board tape from Gazzari's, that was a yellow Maxell tape with silver marker on it that Warrant at Gazzari's. Some of these songs were just so cool. I'm playing the riffs at sound check, and they were just so cool. And then seeing him live on stage with Demols and stuff, just his style, which stood next to the guy for 6 or 7 years. So that's where I got my frontman ability. He told me, he's like, you know, people are coming to a party and you're the host of the party. So you got to show them a good time. And that's what I loved about him, is he just had a good time, laughing, having fun on stage. There's dark times too, but we always had fun. We always had good times. And the more I talk about it, the more things I remember. But it's those early board tapes really, and there's some earlier stuff that never made it to records that's out there that I have in a box somewhere. I guess I got to dig it up, but it's pretty cool stuff.
Here's a comment from William Knodel. He said, I met Janie on the Dog Eat Dog tour in a club. He was talking to a female fan with a guy blocking them. He saw me and a friend talking to the guy and said, let them through. Had a great talk with me. And I've said myself, and I've heard so many other people say that he had a way of making people feel like they were important and that he cared that they were there. Like, did you ever see him like with fans where, you were like, wow, look at how, how this guy treats his fans and how fans just worshiped that guy.
Yeah, he was a genuine good human being. And we always would have people come back, but if somebody didn't have a pass or he could tell that a girl needed a signature or somebody wanted a signature, he always took the time. And he was a genuine big-hearted human being. And that's how I am too. Maybe that's just an Ohio Midwest thing, but we've all been at that gate trying to get backstage and not and hoping somebody would let us back there. So that made him feel good in his heart to do that. And I think that he was a genuine, big-hearted human being, and that's maybe gets us in trouble sometimes, letting the
Sure.
wrong person back or getting too many people back.
He was very personable.
Oh yeah.
Janie was very personable.
Very personal. Love to talk to people. Love, like you said, have a conversation with the guy. Love to talk sports. Um, and we would have some serious Madden football battles on the tour bus, and also Gran Turismo battles with Wild Mick Brown from Dokken. I remember I'd be in my hotel. This is just a sidebar story talking about video games. PlayStation 2. I'd get a knock on the door at like 8 in the morning. Wild Mick Brown, dude, come on, let's go play. And I'd get up, I'd start the bus generator, we'd play Gran Turismo together. But we had some great battles with Madden. Oh, this is another funny thing. Um, Back when you could make your own player on a video game, Janie made like this 8 foot tall quarterback that said Lane had his number on it. We'd play, he had his own quarterback character, and we just laugh our asses off so much playing football on those video games. And I haven't thought about that in years, man. And it was like brings back some great memories because, and Stevie, this, the good time is that hour on set when you're on the stage, when you're rocking and you're having a great time, and maybe an hour afterwards meeting the fans and talking to everybody. But that other 23 hours a day, you got to
Right.
find good times to have.
Right.
And we sure had some good times, whether it was trying to cook or coloring each other's hair or playing Madden football or watching sports. It was like a genuine friendship. It was good. It was real good. And he tried to
Hey,
make me golf too, and I'm a terrible golfer. But he made me golf, and of course I tried, but I'm not a good golfer.
every
And he
time
was
I
a
play golf, I'm like, I can get the ball to go over there or
yeah,
over there, but never quite there.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
um, Billy, and this maybe this, and it's okay. I think if we go into something that's not Janie related, like what? Tell people like what bands were you when Janie's going with Warrant? What were you doing? And apparently, you guys were keeping in touch during those. Tell us about like what you were doing in the late '80s, early '90s.
Well, I had a friend of mine that went out to LA, and he came back with a flyer, and this is Sammy T. Steve, you know Sammy.
Sammy, yeah.
He he came back with a fluorescent green flyer with these four chicks on it. All right. And it had like this like a rat or something, like with the time bomb, with the fuse, the round bomb and the thing. And he goes, "This is what we're gonna do." And I realized that they were guys. I'm like, "We're gonna dress like women, you know, and we're gonna wear makeup." He's like, "Yeah, we're gonna do what these guys do. These guys are gonna be the biggest band." So we started this band called Spoiled, Spoyld, and we were Cleveland's version of Spoiled or Poison. And
Mm-hmm.
they came in through town to a
So
club that we all
the
worked at.
flyer was a poison flyer.
The flyer was a poison
Right.
flyer.
Okay.
I thought it was women, because it was, cheap Xerox, what you guys did, or what we all did back in the day.
Right.
You
Right.
cut out stuff and taped on it and then Xerox it and made 1,000 copies. And he brought this back. He's like, "This is what we're going to do." And I'm like, I was young. I'm like, "All right, let's do it." And we became really popular. Spoiled was like Cleveland's version of Poison. We opened for them, and then after I left the band Spoiled, I started a band called Kid Wicked with my friend Mike Zuder from the band Out of the Blue,
Mm-hmm.
and Janie really liked that band. We had some really great songs. I had this one song. It was called 1994, and I was playing it for him in a little Walkman, CD Walkman, and he listened to it twice, and he goes, damn, I wish I wrote that song. And I guess that would be the most ultimate compliment from a man that you look up to as a songwriter, you know? So yeah, I did the Spoiled thing, the Kid Wicked thing. Of course, I played in local cover bands. I played in a disco band called, uh, I still have a really good friend of mine. His name's Gene Williams. He was a offensive lineman for the Browns. Got traded to the Falcons, but we remained friends. And I was sort of like his housekeeper. And he asked me to teach him how to play guitar. And I'm a big Browns fan. So, a Browns player asks you to teach him how to play guitar, you're going to be like, for sure. So we became really close friends. And we started a disco band called Big Daddy Chocolate and the Disco Dynamite. And we played disco songs, played clubs and stuff. And at one point, I thought I was like 35 years old, 38 years old. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna play cover songs, And I started, my cover bands in town, Billy Morris and the Sunsets, whatever I was going by at the time. Actually, Stevie, you gave me the idea for Sunset Strip. Don't you remember?
I kind of remember that. You told me
We had
about
a
it after the fact
conversation
because I
years
released the
ago. It's like
CD, The Kings
you
of the Sunset Strip, and then at
yeah,
some point you were like, "I'm going to use that," and you
yeah. I
kind of
got the
modeled your
Sunset Strip from Stevie. But I had thought to myself, well, I'm not 21 anymore. I'm 38. And
right.
I didn't make it, which okay, that's cool. And then the phone rang, and Janie, we were friends, and
Mhm.
he left me a voice message and said, "Hey man, I want you to do guitars for Warrant." And I thought that he meant roadie, guitar tech. And I had just gotten back from Japan and Korea with Paul Gilbert. I'm like, I didn't even call him back, because I thought that's what he meant. And 2 weeks later, he calls, dude, why didn't you call me back? I'm like, I don't really want to tech, no, I want you to be the guitar player in the band. I'm like, okay, I'm in. And that was the start of me joining the band.
What were some of those? I mean, what were some of the highlights of those years? I mean, we're trying to keep it all positive, and like you're in Warrant. Obviously, it's not during the platinum years, but still, you're on the road with your. What were some of the highlights of those years?
I remember like some of the big shows. Obviously, the summer tour with Poison was amazing to be able to play my local amphitheater, my shed, Blossom Music Center. Uh, Janie knew that my whole family, my mom and dad, and all my friends were there and in the front row. And Janie goes, and now on lead guitar, a legend in his own zip code, Billy Morris. So
Right.
I think someday if I ever release another CD, I might call it Billy Morris, legend in his own zip code.
There
But
you go.
there was another time we played at an airfield in Tampa, 80,000 people. And it was like the tour that we were on. It was like LA Guns, Firehouse, Rat, Vince Neil, Dokken, and that was the package that we were on. But then um, Leonard Skinner went on, and then Meatloaf went on, and David Lee Roth went on. And I just remember me being a Midwestern. I grew up in Cleveland, but I grew up in a suburb of Cleveland called Columbia Station, which is farm town. And I was a huge
Mm.
Leonard Skinner fan. So here I am, I'm on stage with watching, side stage Leonard Skinner, watching them play Freebird and Give Me Three Steps. I'm like, this is unbelievable.
Right.
And then
Right.
the same night, the after party in the bar, I'm hanging out with Meatloaf's daughter, dude. She was one of the backup singers. She's a sweetheart, and
Pearl.
yeah,
Is that Pearl that married Scott Ian?
yeah, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yep.
met. I think he was there in the after party too, and he
Mhm.
said hi. I don't think he was very fond of me, but I understand that. Yeah, highlights. Being in a tiki hut on the beach in North Carolina, and the whole summer tour was with Whitesnake. And
Mm.
here comes David Coverdale walking out of the water. He's like, "Hey, Billy, how you doing?" I'm like, "Hey, DC, how are you?" That was my one and only meeting and conversation with David Coverdale because the whole band was on their bus and David Coverdale was on his own bus. That's how you
Right.
do it, right?
Right.
But and also to be able to like go into like a cafeteria like at the venue and sit down with one day I'm eating dinner with Rudy Sarzo. The next day I'm eating dinner with Tommy Aldridge. The next day I'm eating dinner with Warren DeMartini, and there's times on the tour bus I'm drinking Guinness beer with Warren DeMartini. So
Right.
those were, some of the fun highlights. A lot of big shows coinciding with the wintertime when you get in a van, you go to North Carolina. I remember one of the bad times was we were in North Carolina. It was like 0 degrees out. Nobody wanted to be there, and there was a driver. I'm like, all right, punch it. So Janie punched the windshield and cracked the windshield. They blame me because I said punch it, meaning punch the throttle on the gas pedal on the van.
Right.
And they were trying to make me pay for the window, but I didn't ever have to. But
Uh,
as that kid standing at the amphitheater watching, obviously watching Warrant before I joined the band or watching Van Halen, to be able to walk on stage at my local amphitheater and play in front of 18,000 people and open up for Poison, who to this day I'm a huge Poison fan. That, when I got Look What the Cat Dragged in the cassette, I just remember playing that thing over and over and over and over and over again, doing my chores in the garage or in the yard, listening to Poison, Look What the Cat Dragged in. So it was kind of a cool thing to be able to tour with them as well.
I don't mean to, because we're keeping it positive, and we got Jamie St. James coming in shortly. But Billy, to wrap it up, I mean, did, how do you hear that Janie passed away? And then I would love to hear about the tribute concert that you did. And Stevie, you played that, and Maddie Lane came up and sang. But what do you remember hearing that he passed away?
I totally remember, like it was yesterday, and obviously it was 15 years ago, but it was to this day. Stevie called me and said, "Hey, I'm redoing some of the tough. I'm going to re-record some of the tough stuff, and I need Todd Chase to play bass on it." So he goes, "Would you have Todd play?" I'm like, "Cool." So Todd came in my studio, and
And this is when Todd had first moved to Cleveland, right?
Todd
He'd
first
only
moved to
been there a
Cleveland.
short period, and you
Yeah.
guys were starting to hang out.
Yeah, so I got Todd in the studio. He's laying down his bass tracks for the remastered Tough Stuff, and Robbie Crane calls me. My phone's sitting there. Robbie Crane, "Hey Robbie, what's up?" "Oh, I gotta tell you, dude. I just want to let you know before TMZ reports it. I just want to let you know right now that they found Janie passed away in a hotel." So Robbie Crane was one that called me, and I knew, you know, hours before it hit the airwaves or the news, the TMZ and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, and I called Chris Bourne. Chris Bourne was my guitar tech and one of Janie's best friends, one of his local Akron guys that, was on the road with us. He was living in Akron. I called and told him. I told a few of the local people and stuff. And it was sad because you always had that in the back of your mind that it could happen. You didn't think it would happen, but you thought that it could happen. So
Right.
that's a really sad, sad thing. But yeah, I was in the studio recording with Todd Chase, and it was a very sad day. We lost, a superstar, a shining star, and he was my hero. I mean, he made my rock star dreams come true. Put me on a tour bus. He taught me. I learned so much just from standing next to the guy on stage. He taught me recording production things that he learned from Michael Wagner and Bo Hill that I use to this day, So I'm a better all around musician, and I want to say a better all around person because I got to know that guy for, many years of my life. I don't know, 15 years of my life. I knew the guy. So in a positive way, it was just such an influence on me and so many different cooking, rocking on stage, music production. Got to talk sports with the guy. So yeah, so moving on to the Janie Lane tribute. I've done a few of them. The one that I did with Stevie was at a downtown big place called the Masonic Temple Auditorium. And I called Bobby. I said, "Hey, Bobby, I want to bring you in. I want to bring you and the girls in." So it just coincided with Stevie bringing Tough into town, me flying Bobby and the girls in. And I took Bobby and the girls and my wife Leah out to dinner the night before. And it was awesome because the sisters, they don't live by each other. So it was good to get them together. Bobby was very appreciative of getting the three of them together, and I guess it was magic because Maddie, I wanted Maddie to sing Heaven, and the way that it came together where I sang the first verse and it was like I was handing the torch to her. I gave her the microphone, and that hit the internet pretty big. It was pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Right. It
So
did.
I've done, I don't know, a handful of Jani Lane tributes, but that was definitely the best one. And I guess I'm due to do another one. So Steve, you flying in? You coming? Guru, you gonna
Sure.
host it?
Hey,
Yeah,
hey, I'll stay
that'd be
right
great.
here, right now. If there is another Jani Lane tribute, I promise I will be there. I will promote the shit out of it however I can. And I would be honored to be any part of it that you guys would want me to be a part of.
All
Seriously.
right, we'll have our conversation about that because I'm due to do another one. It's an honor for me to go up and honor my friend by playing his music and singing his songs and going out on stage and trying to act like Jani Lane like I normally do every night anyway. So it'll be fun. It'll be fun.
Billy, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your memories and paying tribute to Janie. Absolutely, look forward to hopefully doing something to pay more tribute to him whenever you can. But man, we really appreciate you coming on.
Well, it's an honor, and I appreciate you including me into this great talk that we just had. Thank you so much, both of you
And
All
guys.
right,
and
go ahead, Stevie.
I'd like to ask Billy one last
Yeah,
question
Here we
before we
go.
get
Here
off
it
here.
goes. Go ahead.
Dude, are you ready for some football or what?
I am ready for some football.
Dude,
who's going to be
last
your
Go
week's
Niners.
quarterback?
Go Browns.
Who's going to be your quarterback?
I don't know. Deshaun Watson. Oh man,
last week's last week's Hall of Fame game. Did you watch the end of that?
it was crazy. Yeah, I
Dude,
watched
it
it.
was nuts. And the only
Yeah.
thing crazier than that is I just saw a thing on my feed a little bit ago that the Minnesota Vikings named Kyler Murray, that
Mm-hmm.
short quarterback from Arizona, as their starter.
Over JJ McCarthy.
I guess I just saw it
Yep.
today.
Oh, shit. I thought that was a for sure thing. There was no way McCarthy was going to start there.
Yeah,
Well,
but
Totally.
they both can't stay healthy. So
Kyler
Yeah.
Murray's, I guess he's fast, but what is he? 5'8", 5'7"? It's
yeah,
just it doesn't compute. At some point,
yeah. Well, maybe they're
bring it
gonna.
on. I'm ready.
Yeah. So last thing, I'm gonna end with
Yep.
this. October 18th, Cleveland Browns Stadium. Browns, Ravens. Billy Morris, featured guitar player on the field, bringing the team on the field with his lead guitar prowess. So
Hey,
I'm
Excellent.
already booked
and
with the Browns for that one.
and
Awesome.
the Billy Morris band link website is in the description. So head there. Billy has a ton of things going on with music wise and outside with his food truck, smoking rock and roll. So head to the website. Billy, we'll keep in touch. But man, thanks again for coming on.
Thank you guys.
I
Great
All
show
love you,
right,
tonight. Thanks for
Billy.
having me. I'll see you guys.
have a good one. And
Awesome.
that was awesome. And hey, there are a ton of people in the comments and a ton of
Awesome.
super chats. So and we have 354 people. Man, if we could get it to 400, that would be wild. But you guys are thanks for getting here. We will get to your super chats. But holy shit, somebody that is on Stevie Rachelle's Mount Rushmore of singers is in the waiting room. So without
Awesome.
further ado, let's bring in Black and Blue singer and former Warrant singer, Jamie St. James. Saint, welcome to the show.
The Saint
Yes,
is in the
sir.
house.
Hey, there I am, and there you are. And I just missed the Prince, Billy Morris.
Yep. Yep. Yes, you
You know
did.
why
Yes,
he's
you
the
did.
Prince? Because I'm the king. when when I first met Billy Morris, I said, I want you to be my guitarist. I want to play with you because I moved to Cleveland, Ohio for a little while. And
Hmm.
he said, as long as I can play I'm the King once with you, we'll do it. He loves that song. Black and Blue's first album. Anyway,
We, we,
how
we,
are
Awesome.
you
we, we,
guys?
man,
All good.
shit. Awesome. Thank you so much for making the time. I was going to say that we did a video on like songs from back in the day that we still crank, and Billy was all about "I'm the King," from Black and Blue. So we talked about that. Uh,
God
and
bless him.
and Jamie, I mean, before because we're going to talk about Jani Lane, but I've been playing the shit out of the Bombshell single from Thayer St. James. And the Thayer St. James website will be down below. But tell everybody what you're up to musically lately so people can kind of keep track of what you're doing.
Well, just, the Thayer St. James thing is still rolling. The website's up. You can buy vinyl, which has Bombshell on side A and the Lost Tapes on side B. So it's 11 songs. It's a full record. And you can still get Bombshell, the CD. And so those are still, all you have to do is go on ThayerSt.James.com and you can get those. I'm making set lists right now for Black and Blue in Belgium next month.
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys are
Awesome.
playing a festival?
Yeah, it's a festival. It's called Golden Age Rock Festival. And I'm playing with Stars, who I love. The
Oh,
band
no shit.
Stars.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a 70s guy. So,
Right.
I loved those guys when I was a kid. So that's just so cool. It's only a couple of the guys left in the band now, but still, it's cool to me,
Yeah.
So just getting that going and, just hanging out.
Okay, well, everybody should go check out Thayer St. James. The website's down there, but I've been playing the shit out of it on Rock 101 KLOL because that's Bombshell is one of the catchiest songs I've heard of the last few years. So awesome
Wow.
stuff.
I really appreciate that so much. Thank you.
No,
Thank you.
no. And so we're here to talk about Jani Lane, and
Let's do
obviously
it.
you were on the strip in the early '80s, getting Black and Blue going. When do you hear about a Jani Lane on the Sunset Strip?
Black and Blue was playing the strip. We formed the band in 81, and in 82, we were playing the strip. So we were playing the first couple shows we played, nobody knew who we were, and there was nobody there. We played Madame
Right,
Wong's, and there was 6 people there. But
right.
it somehow it switched, and we started packing out the Troubadour, packing out the Country Club. We played the Roxy, the Whiskey, all that stuff. So that was in 82 when we started, and by 83 we were signed. But I knew the Warrant guys before Jani and Steven joined. So the original Warrant guys, I was friends with them because they really liked Black and Blue. Jerry, Eric, and Josh, Adam, and
Yep.
Max. Yep.
Correct.
So they were, just kind of hanging around us, and it was, I got to know those guys. So I didn't even meet Jani until somewhere in the later 80s. And I think the first time I met him was at a rehearsal room. Black and Blue was rehearsing and they were rehearsing. And we just talked for a minute. It came up and said hi to me. And I think we were getting produced by Gene Simmons at the time. And I think he wanted tickets to a Kiss show or something. So I think I hooked him. I'm pretty sure I hooked him up. But that's
So
when
at
I
this
first.
point, he was already in Warrant. This wasn't plain Jane.
No.
He was already.
It wasn't Plain Jane. He was in Warrant by this time.
Okay.
So I never met those guys. I never saw Plain Jane. I saw
Okay.
Warrant. But I never saw Plain Jane. So, but it's a strange thing. I always got along well with Jani. I liked him. I like him a lot. He was a good guy. And I think the next time I saw Jani, I was at Universal Amphitheater, and Warrant was playing. And Jani comes running off the stage and grabs me and goes, "You want to sing a song with me?" I go, "What are we going to sing?" He goes, "Baby Loves to Rock." Cheap Trick. I said, "I'm in." He goes, "If you can find anybody else, bring them up with you." And so only guy that was back there was Paul Shortino. And he goes, "I don't know that song. I've never heard it before." I go, "It doesn't matter. You just come up with me and watch my mouth." I don't want to go up by myself. So that was I think the second time I actually really had talked with Jani. But, let me backtrack just a touch if I could. If you don't mind. Replacing a singer in a band, no one wants to do it. No one wants to do it. The band doesn't want to do it. The original singer doesn't want to do it. The replacement singer doesn't want to do it.
Right.
And it is like the hardest thing to do with a band. For me, I'm a little biased, but I think the vocal is 60% of the sound of the band. I mean, it takes a great guitarist, great drummer, great bass player. You can't do it without those guys. But the sound that people recognize that voice is huge.
Right.
I think everybody knows that. So,
Yep.
and then replacing a guy like Jani Lane, that's a bitch. He's a
Right.
great singer. He's a great singer. And I want to say that I was asked by Jerry Dixon I was up in Portland, Oregon, working on a Hell Yeah record that was on Frontiers, a black and blue record.
Yep.
And I said, okay, I go, look, I'll try it. But if my voice doesn't seem right for it, I don't want to do it. But let's just give it a shot. So I learned 5 songs: Cherry Pie, Heaven, Down Boys, Uncle Tom's Cabin, and Sometimes She Cries, I think. And I just went down and sang them. And, they seemed happy. This was Joey Allen had come down to help because Billy Morris was in Cleveland. So he came down to help, and Mike Fasano was on drums. And
Mm.
it was a great, I had fun. I'm thinking to myself, my voice fits this pretty well. And I know that I've still got videos of a lot of shows I did where I know my voice sounds great with it. So they called me 2 weeks after and said, we want you in the band. So, okay, that's great. That's great. I'll do it. And our very first show is Daytona Bike Fest, opening for Night Ranger for good money. And they said, well, here's the thing. We're not telling anybody it's you.
Oh my God.
No one's going to know it's you. The promoter, he might try to talk us down money-wise, so we're not going to announce you. I go, you got to be horse fucking me. I mean, you got to be kidding me. I mean, that is insane. And so I go to the place. I'm standing on the stairs that lead up to the stage, and we're opening. And I'm just thinking nobody's going to expect me, And thank God, Jack Blades, who I had played a bunch of show with Night Ranger, came up, rubbed my shoulders, and say, Jamie, I know what's happening here. Just go out and do your best. Just go out and do your best. So I did. The first song was a blur, just a blur. By the
Right.
third song, I realized this is working. And I remember going backstage afterwards to our trailer and said, God, it worked, So it was here's the other thing about this. Jani Lane made me a better singer. Because of singing those songs, that was the first time I had to get in-ear monitors because Black and Blue didn't do a lot of ballad stuff,
Mm-hmm.
And I needed to sing more subtle, so I got the in-ear monitors, and I use them to this day. But copying his thing, which I tried to do like the record, made me a much better singer. It was a really cool thing that happened to me with that,
Did you guys ever talk? Like, did you guys talk when you were in Warrant, or did he ever reach out?
I had meetings. I had different Jani Lane sightings. I'm gonna tell you, there's another funny thing. I moved to Cleveland, Ohio, in 1999 or 2000. Yeah, 1999, and I flew to Cleveland. I'm standing at baggage, waiting for my bags, and standing next to me is Jani Lane, waiting for his bags. I go, "What the hell?" He goes, "What are you doing here?" I go, "I'm moving here." And he goes, "To the Mistake by the Lake. Good luck." But okay, so when I was in Ohio, I hung out with him a lot. Now I'm not in Warrant yet, but we hung out, and I had a lot of fun with him. We went to some Super Bowl parties and went and saw some bands and did some things, and we got along well. I really like him. I really do. And while I was in Warrant, I only ran into him one time, and it was at
Okay.
a golf tournament. I suck at golf, but I got free clubs. I got endorsed, so they roped me into playing golf, and there was Jani, and I didn't even know he was going to be there. So we shook hands and said hi, and there was nothing weird from him at all. I'm in the
Right.
band now, and I'm thinking, oh man, when he turned the corner, I saw him. I thought, oh shit. But you know what? He was very, very cool. Very cool.
Now
I'm
I
going to
got
say this. Oh, go. Or Stevie, just let me bring this up.
Okay.
In the comments, everybody is talking about you got to be horse fucking me. Everybody's dying about. So I feel like that's going to be a new thing from people on this channel. Go ahead, Stevie.
I got away
So
with words.
Oh
yeah.
yeah, you do.
So my question for you, Jamie, is so now, Warrant doesn't want you to tell anybody. You show up, you
Yeah.
know, at what point do you start having to encounter the fans where they're like, hey man, what are you doing? Or where is Janie? Or,
Yeah.
how did that start to happen? What are the good or bad experiences you had with the fans when you're suddenly the guy?
Yeah. Very first couple of songs, I could hear a couple people out there going, "Get off the stage, jackass! We're playing." I heard some of it,
Mhm.
and I just powered through. But honestly, by the end of the set, I worked my ass off at that show, and I won them
Mhm.
over. I really did. But it wasn't easy to do, and I can't remember. It took a little while before they started announcing me, but after a while, it got out. But still, people just don't know. They don't pay attention, and I mean, sometimes I'd be walking off stage, and I didn't know if somebody said Jamie or Janie to me.
Right.
It's
I
but
remember you told me one time, I think we were at Paladino's, and it was
uh,
maybe while you were in the band, and we were talking about this, and you said something, if I'm recalling this right, where you said that at some point, I think it was a girl, and she said, you were talking to her, and at some point she goes, I didn't know your name was Jamie. I thought your name was Janie. And you're like,
yeah,
nope, it's Jamie. And she's like, oh, so you're Jamie. And you're like, yep, not Janie, I'm Jamie. And she somehow thought because the name is so similar,
yeah.
and you were just like, you didn't want to have the heart to tell her, like, I've never been Janie. This is a different guy you're talking to.
It happened a lot, honestly. And I
Oh,
can remember
I'm
their
sure.
manager at the time, Avi Steinman, was saying, "I'm kind of
Right.
glad his name is Jamie because it fools people." You know,
Right.
Right.
because honestly, you got to think about it. Jani Lane's not there anymore. They're going to take a pay cut.
Right.
Especially in the beginning, but it worked out okay. We got a lot of great shows. I played tons of shows. I
Oh,
started in 2004 and I was done by the beginning of 2008. But we
Hmm.
played 50, 60 shows a year.
Hmm.
I toured a lot. I mean, it was insane. And I would say, 90% of those shows were fantastic.
Hmm.
So it
I
was
Awesome.
a
saw
great
you got
experience.
I saw you guys numerous times, and it was awesome. And the Born Again album, there are some really solid songs on that record. I think people just needed to go into it not saying I'm expecting to hear Jani Lane. They had to go, hey, it's Warrant. It's a different lead singer, and if you do that, there's a lot of great stuff on that record.
Well, it's hard when the original guy is still alive. You
Yep,
know,
Right.
right,
that's a tougher egg to crack.
Hmm.
To put out a record, and it's like, I understand why people are kind of uh, thrown back on it. It's
right.
like it's not the Warrant they're used to. So I get it. I think that there's some good stuff on there. But I don't think it's gotten much love. But I think that there's some good songs on there. There's like 3 or 4 really good songs. And you know what? Jani Lane was such a goddamn great songwriter.
Oh my
So no matter
gosh,
what we were going to do, it was going to be a challenge.
Right. Right.
He had big shoes to fill, man. He really did. And like I said, it made me a better person, a better singer for it.
Jamie, I was going to ask, like, when Warren starts breaking in '89, like, what did you think? And maybe it's not good. Were you a fan? Did you find yourself liking their songs? What did you think of Warren back then?
I saw them right after they got done recording Dirty Rotten Filthy Stinking Rich. They did a show at the country club and I was there. And I could hear the change from when they went into the studio and then they came out and played, and I said, I think these boys are going to do well. And honestly, I really like Warrant a lot. I like the records. I like Dog Eat Dog a lot. There's some great stuff on that record, but I like the first two. I think that those first 3 records are fantastic, and they're one of the stronger bands of the genre, in my opinion. I always liked him. If I didn't like the music, I wouldn't have done it. And that's a tip of the hat to Jani Lane for sure. He was a great songwriter, a great singer, great lyricist. He had it all. Except Prince
I
said he couldn't dance. I guess whatever.
Right, right.
that's right. That's right. Jamie, I googled Jamie St. James, Jani Lane, and I don't know anything about this picture.
There it
Is
is.
is that you? And what is going on? When is
That
that? Do you
is what I
remember?
just told you about.
Okay, that is
Universal
okay.
Amphitheater.
So
Yep, that
that's
is
Paul
okay.
Shortino.
That's Paul Shortino. We're singing
That's
"Baby
it.
Loves to Rock" there.
Okay, that's it. Okay,
That's it.
wow.
And Janie's wearing a pirate radio shirt. Pirate Radio was a huge station
Yeah.
in Southern California that was, if you were getting played on there, it was popping. And look who just stepped in the chat. Stephanie Mandel. You are an equally great person, Jamie, says Stephanie Mandel.
Thank you, Steph.
That's right. Hey, Stevie, I'm going to turn it over. Charlie has to go to the bathroom, so
Take
I'm going
her
to go
out.
let her up. But I can
Take
still
her
hear
out.
you guys. Keep
All
going.
good. So, Jamie, like when you're playing the scene and you're seeing all these bands coming up, and you're part of an earlier wave, though. Like
Yeah.
you were playing the scene when Motley and Rat and Wasp and Armored Saint and Great White, all those bands were technically after the Van Halen rush.
Yeah.
How did you feel the change was? What did you see in changes? Was there shocks when suddenly the Poisons or the Warrants or the Guns N' Roses literally did take off? Because some bands obviously don't always do that. Some of us get deals and we kind of flutter, and then some of the others go to the next level. And you were part of that before and
Yeah.
after.
Yeah. I was there early on for sure. I mean, when I was playing the club scene, Motley Crue was still playing the club scene, Quiet Riot,
Hmm.
Rat, all those bands. Um, it didn't support. Look, there was 10-year period where there was just so much happening
Right.
in LA that it was, and it kind of look when I first started, I never played Gazzari's. I never played there once. It
Right.
became the cool place to play, but it wasn't when I was playing. It wasn't. And by the time '83, we were off on tour with Aerosmith, so we were gone. But I'm not surprised at all. I think that there was a lot of good talent still. I think some of the stuff got a little watered down, but
Hmm.
for the most part, I think some of the bands that popped really deserved it. Obviously, Guns N' Roses and Poison do. They
Hmm.
they,
Yep.
they they're hugely successful, and Warrant did too, in my opinion.
Hmm.
There's a lot of bands from that time period. I still think Rat is great. Rat
Yeah.
Oh,
has great songs. Rat should still be bigger than they are. You
Right.
know,
yeah.
they should be where Motley Crue is.
Hmm.
So I look. I'm a big fan of rock and roll. A big fan of bands. So I would go out and see bands when I was in town, and I liked it. And I thought there was some good stuff, but of course there was some stuff that wasn't so good.
Right.
I thought Black and Blue should have been bigger, but that's just me. I'm
Well,
just throwing that out there. Anyway,
you know what? Me too. But I can tell you, we had a lot of issues behind the scenes that just weren't working. Management, the record company, they were great with getting us who we wanted on the first couple of records, but all of a sudden everything went to Whitesnake and Guns N' Roses, and we weren't
yeah,
getting anything. We wouldn't even get a video on our last album. So
Did you
right.
guys put out 4 records on Geffen? Was it
yes,
4?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yep.
And
Here's a. Oh, go ahead. I
well,
was just gonna.
look, the first record did pretty good. I mean, people don't realize it. I mean, we were getting some MTV airplay with
Yep.
Hold On to 18, and
Yep.
we had a decent tour with Aerosmith, but that was kind of a strange one because it was Aerosmith coming back. Back in the
Mhm.
Saddle Tour, they called it, but it was still for
Hmm.
me cool because it was Aerosmith. But
Right.
we got back to LA after that tour, and they said, "Well, you've sold almost 250,000 records." So it's not like we were a horrible, terrible failure. We did
Right.
okay. Hold On to 18 was getting played all over the place on radio. So was Miss Mystery on the second record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
J629 says, "Hey Jamie, huge Black and Blue fan, and maybe I'm in the more minority, but I enjoyed the Born Again album you did with Warrant." So J629, thanks a lot. And Jamie, there's another fan of Born Again.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. You know,
So,
it was good. Like I said, you're you're doing a record that people have been used to hearing the Jani Lane stuff, and it's a tough position to be in, you know. And I admire Jani 100% for his songwriting and his abilities. And you know, I think it was something that we just wanted to do. The guys wanted to do more than me, but
mm,
I took the time to write a bunch of stuff on that record, you know.
Hmm.
right, right. If I can, when did you find out that Jani Lane passed away? What do you remember about that?
Oh, yeah. I was sitting at home on my computer and I saw something somewhere, some blurb about maybe he had something happened to him. So I immediately, I think I was able to do this back then. TMZ. I always look at TMZ for the truth.
Yep. Yep.
And it was on there, and I went, son of a bitch. So I posted on my Facebook, R.I.P. Jani Lane, and a lot
Mm,
of people hadn't even known yet. It was disturbing and sad,
Hmm.
sad. You know, I really liked him a lot. He was a great guy, had so much talent. You hate to see something like that to happen to somebody. Um, but you know, God rest his soul, and he did amazing things while I was here.
don't you think? I
Agreed.
mean, and I've heard other people say this, and like, even if he wasn't like out playing live, even if he wasn't with Warrant, the guy could have been like writing songs for like country artists, like ballads for people. I mean, he had such a knack for that. I mean,
I, I
what do
bet
you
he
think
would
he'd
have.
be doing if he was still around?
Well, that's a good one. Maybe he would have moved to Nashville and just been a songwriter. You know,
Right.
he could have done that. He could have done that easily. He had the gift for creating a song that had a great melody, great everything, great lyrics. He had the whole package. He had it, and he could have kept writing songs for many years.
Yeah.
Right, right. Um, Jamie, thank you so much for coming on. Are you guys playing the 2027 cruise next year?
You're goddamn right. We are.
Awesome.
Well, I'm going to be there. He's going to be there. So I can't wait to meet you in person. Um,
Oh, that'll be
yeah,
awesome. Well, it won't be hard to find me. I like hanging around with that guy right there.
right, right.
I got to go to the tough shows. I got to go Stevie Rochelle. I got to see Billy Morris. So you'll find me easy.
Yeah, and the thing is,
Awesome.
what's great about this West Coast cruise, I'm glad they finally are doing another for us. I mean, what is it for you to get to the pier? An hour and a half?
Yeah, I just got to
Yeah,
take a little drive. I don't have to
yeah,
fly to Miami. I love it.
yeah, and
Right.
spend. You know, you got to buy 4 hotel rooms for $350 a piece to sleep in for 10 hours, and then get up the next morning and go on the, and then
Yeah.
fly home. So yeah, for us
No.
West Coast guys, I was telling Stephanie too, we literally can leave the valley at 9 in the morning and at 10:15 park,
You're
roll our
right.
bags up and get on. And then when we
Yeah.
dock that morning, we'll be home by 10 in the morning
I know.
having breakfast. We won't have to
I
fly anywhere.
I know. Trust me. I'm really looking forward to this cruise because it's going to be so easy. That flight to Miami is bad enough, but
Brutal.
the flight home after everything is
Oh,
brutal.
at that airport? Yeah, the Miami
At
airport is
Miami
brutal
Airport,
that morning. Oh
I
my
had to
God.
join Clear just to be able to get through.
Right?
right.
Horrible.
Jamie, so you have that coming up. What else? Is there anything else that you want to promote? We got Thayer St. James. Is there any places you want people to go to? What else is going on that you want to tell people?
That's really it. The Thayer St.
Okay.
James thing is still rolling, and
Yep.
we're still selling product weekly. We keep
Yeah.
it keeps on rolling, so that's great.
Awesome.
And yeah, it's been pretty successful for us. And then just I can't wait to see the people in Belgium. We've never played Europe mainland proper. We
Okay.
played
Oh,
England.
really?
We played England twice, but we've never been to Europe ever. It's crazy. So it's our first time, and I know that it's going to be a blast.
Awesome. Awesome. Jamie, thanks for coming on to share your memories about Jani Lane. Everyone go to Thayer St. James and check that out. And seriously, can't wait to meet you in person next year on the 2027 Monsters of Rock cruise.
We'll get it done. We'll get it
And
done. Thank you, both you guys, so much. I appreciate it. I talked too much about myself. It should have been more about
Nope.
Janie.
it's all good.
It
And
was
last thing I'll
awesome.
say, for me, and Anthony and you, Jamie, hold on to 18.
That's
Even
right,
though,
baby.
even though we're 40 years past it, plus,
Hey,
such a great song, and I can still remember the first time I saw that on MTV, and then I bought the record and every record after. And as I've told you from the beginning, and Anthony said at the beginning of this when he introduced you, you're on my Mount Rushmore. It's Roth, Piercy, Vince, and you.
that's insane, man.
You're one of the reasons I do this. So thank
Wow.
you.
Well, that's huge, Stevie. I love you.
Yep. Thank
All
you. I
right,
love you too.
Jamie. Take care, man. We'll stay in
Okay.
touch. All right.
See you
All right.
next time.
Thanks, bud.
Awesome.
Yeah. Bye
Awesome.
bye.
That was epic. We have 391 people here. Holy shit.
We need to get it
we
over
are coming.
400.
Let's get it over 400. We got at least a half hour, maybe a little bit longer.
Let me text my friend Sebastian Bach and tell him to get on here real quick.
Sebastian, get your ass in here. All right. Quit being the youth gone mild and come join the show. Looking forward to seeing Sebastian. And I'll point this, and then we're going to get into some questions, and then I think you and I got to share some of our memories about Jani Lane. So I have a ton of fucking questions, but I was going to say looking forward to seeing Sebastian in 2 weeks, whatever, not this weekend, but the next weekend at Monsters on the Mountain. And I will say that next Tuesday we are going to be talking about Monsters on the Mountain.
Let's plug that. I'm gonna get some more ice. So plug next week's show.
All right. So next week, Tuesday the 18th, we are going. And I'll just say this: we are going to have special guests to promote the Monsters on the Mountain Festival in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. And Stevie's got his headphones in, so I can hear him like cracking ice and shit. It's kind of weird, but it's actually kind of cool. So we're going to have a couple special guests. I will be flying out Thursday the 20th and meeting Colonel Patrick from the Hair Metal Guru channel, who does so much behind the scenes and on the scenes, obviously on the videos. We're going to be getting to Gatlinburg around 1 p.m. and we're going to be getting to Knoxville. We're going to rent a car. We're going to drive to Gatlinburg. There's some pre-party Thursday night, the 20th. And then it's 3 days of shows, the 21st, 22nd, 23rd. You got Piercy DeMartini, Sebastian Bach, Night Ranger, 38 Special. My friend Tammy loves 38 Special. She's really jealous that I'll be going to that. Rick Springfield. Tons. I mean, it's 3 days full. It's like apparently, and I've never been there, but like one show gets done and then a stage opens up on another side and another show starts. It's like, I don't know how many bands. I'll find a picture and I'll show it. But anyway, we're going to have a couple special guests and we're going to promote. So let us know if you are going to be at the mountain. I'm fucking jacked beyond belief to be there. Warrant's going to be there. So I'll be hearing these Jani Lane songs. So that's what we're doing next week.
It's going to be awesome. I won't be at the mountain. At some point we will. But I know that you're going to go, and it's going to be an amazing time. Lots of bands, 3 days of fun. And I predict you're going to get recognized a bunch, more than the last couple of shows you attended. You know, I mean, how many people are at the mountain? I haven't been there yet, but I'm guessing it's going to be somewhere between 5,000 and 10,000. You know, maybe more.
I have no clue.
You know?
No clue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of people.
I still get I get baffled when I get recognized, and I always pull out my camera first, even before people. I'm like, hey, can I get a picture? Like, wow, you know me and you watch this stuff, so excited about it. Nitty Paradiddy drums just super chatted for no apparent reason than to say thank you. So hey, thank you. And we're going to get into Stevie's and I, we're going to chat a little bit about our Warrant story. But Skank Neurotic says, Warrant was my first concert in 1989. I was 12, changed my life. Jani was a true entertainer. Here's another one. D Wild says, met Jani after the Blood, Sweat, and Beers tour. He was in a good mood, if you know what I mean. Signed my shirt, Jani Lane 69. Loved it. That is
Earlier
awesome.
you put up a comment from a guy named Tim Mercer who
Yep,
said that he had teched for Warrant. Timmy
that's right.
Mercer was also a tough tech at some point, if it's the same Timmy.
Mm.
What's up, Timmy? I think he lives in Arizona now. But yeah, Timmy teched for a lot of bands. He teched for Warrant, teched for Tough. I think he teched for Paradise at some point. So Tim Mercer was one of our crews, along with Rat and Ken Dog. Kenny was actually, he was Chase's bass tech usually, because
Okay.
Kenny was George's tech, or maybe it was vice versa. I think they flip flopped. But what's
Right.
up, Timmy? Good to hear from you, bud.
Lisa Burney, formerly Pilsen, says hi. She's going to come on for an interview and talk about her upcoming book at some point.
Hello, Lisa.
Stank Neurotic says, thanks for the super chat. Says, Warrant was my first concert in 89. I was 12 and my parents were with me. Jani told everybody to do the Warrant high sign. That must be this.
Oh, that's no idea.
And Skank Neurotic says, I had no clue what I was doing, but my poor parents did. So that's hilarious. Here's a nice comment for Stevie. Stevie, thank you so much for what you did for me. Made my month. I don't know what you did for him, but apparently it was cool. And he says, rest in peace, Jani. Huge Warrant fan, was
What's up,
listening to
David?
Ultraphobic today. Very cool. And so fucking high, not Sofa King high.
Sofa King.
Dumbass.
It's Sofa King.
Sofa King. I'm just going to keep saying Sofa King because now it feels pretty awesome to say that. Hope you're walking those golden streets up there, Jani. Thanks for the great music. Sofa King, thanks for the super chat. We're going to get into our stuff, but I want to get Marie Wilder Mood says, don't forget to like the live. Hey, we're at 373. We got to 385. We might not hit 400, but damn it, we still could.
I saw 392. So we were flirting with 400, but that's great. Thank you to all of the people that have logged on today. And
Hell
shout out
yes.
to Billy and Jamie for coming on.
Yes. Badass. Jamie St. James is a fucking legend. I love Black and Blue.
100%.
So badass. Jordan Skoll, thanks for the super chat, says, I wish they'd release Jani's demos officially. This Town, Saltwater, Faraway Eyes, and many more. Hey, I'm going to give a shout out to Chris Laney, who is a producer and a musician, and he worked on the Zan Cody album. He's from Sweden, but he has been doing these Jani Lane remastered songs. They're all on YouTube, and he takes Jani's old demos and he keeps the vocals, but he produces and makes the music, a little more modern, or not modern, but fixes it up. So
Yeah.
it goes from demo quality to high quality production. And I say he's doing God's work. So go check out Jani Lane Reimagined from Chris Laney. The guy's a fucking genius. So
Chris Laney's a good guy. He actually mixed Shagadoo Lollipop for my third solo record. And he also
There you go.
mixed some stuff for Shameless. Super talented guy. He also plays in drawing a blank. He plays in a few bands, but he plays in a band. I have to Google it now.
Yeah, I know who it is, and as soon as you say it, I'm gonna. God dang it! But he was playing in Zan Cody with Zinny Zan and Harry Cody. Here's a super chat that is nothing about Jani Lane. It's about Jack. So S Beard. I'll just throw it up there. Jack Osborne busted Rolling Stone journalist Kat Tenbarge for using AI to write articles. He pasted her, which flagged it. Okay, Rolling Stone is dead. Thank you for the super chat. All right, I appreciate it.
He plays
That's
in
cool.
Pretty Maids.
Pretty Maids. Fuck me.
He's played with a lot of bands. He's done a lot of work for a lot of Swedish bands. A lot of that Swedish sleaze invasion.
Crash Diet and bands like that.
Super good guy, super
Absolutely.
talented.
Yes, yes. I'm going to get through a couple more of these, and then Stevie and
Let's
I are
do
going
it.
to talk a little bit. Ken
Let's do it.
Pease, Dog Eat Dog is my favorite Warrant album, but Uncle Tom's Cabin is my favorite Warrant song. Amazing songwriter. Thank you so much. You're absolutely right. Thank you for the you guys. Again, it's not about money, but just if people super chat, thank you because
Thank you.
you're helping us to make content. You really are. SM6194 says, Stevie, did you know? Remember Erica, who may or may not have performed with Jani on stage at a Warrant Troubadour show?
I think you're referring to this happened, I think, either right before I got to Los Angeles or right after. And what happened is Janie on stage during a song turned his back towards the crowd, and this girl got on her knees, and the word was that she gave him oral while he was on stage. So she was kneeling with her face in his crotch and
Okay.
pleasuring him, and that became like a big deal. Like it was essentially viral before viral was the moment, or before the internet viral stuff. But yeah, everybody was talking about it. I think that's what this person is referring to. So
I prefer to hope that happened, you know? Here's a couple more. Ryan McCusker, hey buddy, is there autograph 8x10s of the Guru available? There's not, but if they were, I will take some photos that Tammy Stiskel Photography shot for me, and I would make those. But no. And does anybody really? Well, I did sign some autographs at the Whiskey. That fucking threw me for a loop. But
so
anyway,
I think what this person is referencing or insinuating or wishing for is that you would do a towel shoot kind of like I did back in the day.
yes.
So
Can I find that
Tammy,
picture?
if you can get your camera ready, we will send Anthony down with some baby oil and a red hand towel.
That's right.
Other clothing items will be not necessary, and you do a remake of my infamous towel shoot,
I'm
and
trying to find that fucking picture.
we'll sell that to people on the internet when we launch the Hair Metal Chaos Hair Metal Guru official merchandise line, which will be extensive. And I have a feeling that that photo of you could be similar to my photo is essentially what Farrah Fawcett's red bathing suit poster was in the 70s. So
Yeah.
I'm guessing you'll be able
Yeah.
to, you might be
That's
able
true.
to rival my.
Here. It's coming up. Hold on one sec.
Oh my
Keep talking, because hey, Tammy,
Earl Skakel, the famous comedian, has said that he will
let's
fund
do
it.
this.
He wants me to redo that shoot, and he said he will pay for it. He wants me to do it now at age 60. I might take
These
him up
are
on that at some point. I'd have to work out a little bit more, but yeah, Earl has offered to fund it.
that's gonna be Tammy, hey, get your camera ready. So that's gonna happen next. And here here's a picture of me and Tammy, the photographer. She
Nice,
is awesome. So anyway, it was a blast doing
excellent.
all those pictures. So
This
maybe there is going to be Hair Metal Chaos merch. Stevie and I are working on that. So stay tuned. Stay tuned for that. And here are a couple more. Nitty Paradiddy Drum says, I took a pee next to Janie at the Button South in Florida. Very cool. And I'll do this last one. And then Stevie, I'm going to ask about you meeting Janie
okay?
back in 87. Whenever a Warrant ballad was on radio, Sirius XM Hair Nation, I don't think I ever tuned out. Warrant's not my favorite, but their ballads were good. Jani Lane could write a ballad that would make you a grown man cry, and did a few times with myself. So yes, you're right. Absolutely right. The CD 5150. So, okay, Stevie, you get to LA in 87. And obviously your first show was opening for Warrant, but when do you hear about Jani Lane and Warrant?
I have to say that I believe I had heard about their band when I was still in Wisconsin. I knew a couple of girls that lived out here, and my friend Pam from Milwaukee, who I ended up staying with for a few weeks when I first got to California in '87. I remember her talking about Warrant being this very popular band, and they were drawing a lot of people, and they were the next band after Poison, because Poison's record came out in May of '86 and they were on tour, but it really blew up at the end of '86, really early '87 when they put Talk Dirty to Me out. And I say that because once Poison ascended to that next level, well, then it was like, okay, who's next? And Warrant was that band that a lot of people were talking about locally, that had all the fixins. They'd been around for a few
Mm.
years. Obviously, Jani was a great front man, great songwriter. There was a huge buzz with Warrant. I think Racer X was probably secondary to that. Um, but I remember them being the big G's per se. And then I get in the band, July, we do a photo shoot, and Michael books us our first show, which is on a bill with Warrant. It was, I believe, Saturday, August 21st, about 6 weeks after I joined the band. And that was at the Roxy. Tough was the second slotted band. There was an opener, first slot, second. This is the promo. Is that Friday or Saturday? Saturday. It is a Friday, isn't it?
Friday.
August 21st.
Here's
So,
Warrant.
yep,
There's Tough right there. So,
yeah.
yep.
Paradise was the support. Paradise went right on before Warrant. We went on before Paradise, and then Kramer, I think, was the first band, or Brittany or whatever they're called, and then another band went on after Warrant. And the way the whiskey's set up is there's two dressing rooms. So Tough and Warrant shared a dressing room. And then the first and third slot bands, Paradise and whoever else, shared. But I remember we shared the dressing room with Warrant, and I don't really remember. I remember meeting Jerry because I asked Jerry to take my boots off, and we had come off stage, and I was literally sitting on the couch, and I said, "Dude, can you pull my boot off?" And I was holding my leg out, and he looked at me like I was crazy, but I couldn't get it off, and he literally grabbed it and pulled it off for me. But Warrant was out without a doubt the biggest band, And then after that, they start playing the country club, and they're playing two nights, and by '88, we had actually played another show with them at the country club, which was outside of the Palace or Santa Monica Civic Center, was the biggest place to play. Capacity of about 1,000 people. So Warrant and Tough together, it was like it sold out. It was huge. There was a ton of people there. It was huge for both of us. And at that point, I think Warrant was already signed and probably maybe in the middle of recording their record or about to. I'm thinking that was September of '88. And
Right.
over the years, there was absolutely a rivalry, like there
Hmm.
is though with any, there's good competition. It's like a starting quarterback and the backup. The backup wants to get in the game, you know. And so Jani and Warrant were here, and Tough was here, and then Poison was up there. So we're all trying to get, Warrant's trying to get to that next level. We're trying to get to the next level. And over the years, me and Jani were never great friends. We were never buddies. We never hung out or traded phone numbers, but we would see each other, and he was always respectful to me, and I think vice versa. But there was a few funny moments. There was a point at some point after, I think after their first record, we were at Exposure 54, which is a club that happened on Sunday nights. Jani was with Stephen Sweet, and at some point he had everybody around. I think Jerry Gittleson was there from Rock City News or Hollywood Rocks. Jani was buying shots for everybody. He had a waitress that had a tray with just a ton of shots. And he goes,
Right.
Stevie, take one. And I said, I ain't drinking. And he said, no, you're drinking. Come on. He was trying to force me. And I said, I'll make you a deal. If you can beat me in arm wrestling, I'll drink the shot. And Jani, like I said, when Billy was on, he was a competitive guy. He was a sports guy. So he said, okay, let's go. So we're basically at this table, and there's, a bunch of people around us, and I beat him. And then he said, let me try again. He shook out his arms. He went again. Then he's like, let's try left. But he couldn't beat me, so I didn't have to drink the shot. And then at some point he goes, Steven, arm wrestle him. So he started, he was waiting for somebody that could beat me because he wanted to make me drink. But I didn't drink because I wasn't a drinker. But it was all in good fun. We played Jani Lane's Fireman's Ball at some point, which was held at FM Station. And that show that we played was the last show that Tough did before we started recording our record. So this is in 1990. And Jani was the host of that event. And I remember him and Bobby had a table down in the front and watched, our show. And of course, we wanted to do well. The guy from Warrant is here. And at this point, they've already sold 1 million records. And I think the second record might have been coming out or about to come out. I don't remember. When was Cherry Pie released? It was in the summer of 90?
In September of 90. So this would have been around the time of that.
Yeah, so literally at that exact time. And we did that last show, and then we were in pre-production a month later in October, and in December we started to record. So, and being from LA, they'd be on tour, and then they'd come home, and I'd see them at a club or at the Rainbow or backstage at a show or something, and there's probably a couple of photos I think I forwarded you at some point, which I could give
Here's
some.
This.
So that's actually in the Roxy dressing room, and that's probably the late 2000s. I'm wearing a Veins of Jenna shirt, so I'm guessing this is probably 2008 maybe. And that's Tammy, Joe Lestay, me, and Jani Lane, and we're on the couch in the dressing room at the Roxy. And that photo is pretty awesome because you think about this. You have Faster Pussycat, Warrant, Bang Tango, and Tough, all four of us frontmen, all sitting on the couch. Jani was sober that night. I remember he hadn't drank at all. I do not have a cigarette in my ear. That's a pen. Tammy was obviously tipping one back. And, again, all of us were never the best of buddies. I've become friends with everybody over time. And me and Joe Lestay have recently texted and swapped some messages. Me and Tammy have been friends for years, as were, myself and Jani. But we weren't four guys that were like, hey, let's all go out together. Right. We all ended up there and sitting on that couch. And then somebody took that photo. That's encapsulated in time forever, which is pretty amazing,
And so I'm just going to point Ash's Antics, member for 9 months. Love this channel. Thanks for the Jani tribute. Thank you. Stevie, and obviously when Metal Sludge is going on, there's some hard feelings because you kind of go after Metal Sludge or you kind of go after Jani Lane in those years, but you guys did kind of come to a truce. And that's kind of a cool story. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, 100%. And the thing is, myself and my partner at the time, Sean, when we started Metal Sludge in 98, we kind of stumbled onto it. I mean, the internet was so new. Nobody knew what the internet was. I don't think anybody did, and we just started putting all this stuff on there, and it became kind of a community where people could gather. There was people on there from Pittsburgh and Denver and London and Australia, and people from all over the world were going into this community, like these message boards or chat rooms. And we started doing, I've often said this since Steel Panther became a big thing. Steel Panther was like Metal Sludge live. In other words, all the shtick that they would do when they'd be on stage playing and then they'd stop the song and Michael Starr would look at Satchel and go, your wig's on sideways, and he'd be like, oh shit, he'd fix it, and then he'd go back into the song and they were kind of busting balls or taking the piss out of it, whatever you want to call it. And that's kind of what Metal Sludge started to do with the bands, even though, and it's funny because some people thought, oh, they hate these bands. That wasn't the case at all. We loved these bands. We liked it, but we were also busting some balls and I guess terrorizing the internet, essentially. And of course, we didn't do that to just everybody. We did it to guys, I guess, that at some point put themselves in a predicament or a position to be exposed. It's
Right.
like I've said for years, how many articles do you ever read about us, giving Tom Kiefer a hard time?
Right.
Well, Tom Kiefer never, you know,
Did anything stupid.
canceled a show or threw up on
Right.
stage or got a DUI or beat up his wife. How
Right.
many times do we do that about the guys in Night Ranger?
Right.
We didn't. But at
Right.
some point, if guys got in trouble or bands were fighting, and a lot of we can all admit this, and this isn't related to Jani and Warrant, but all the bands, the infighting that was L.A. Guns or Rat or even Poison when they were fighting with Cece, or Skid Row with Sebastian, and the list goes on and on and on. All of us at some point were involved in these, like, band members were leaving or quitting, and then when one guy would quit, you'd be like, screw those guys, and then there'd be people used to say, oh, there's how many versions of LA Guns are there? It was Phil's version, and then there was Tracy's version, and then there was Jani solo, and then there was Warrant with another singer, and Sebastian, and then Skid Row with different singers. So we were just kind of shining a light on that. And Jani, sadly, put himself in a lot of positions and predicaments that didn't always reflect good on him, whether it was with his own band or getting in trouble legally and those challenges. But there was a point after the fact when me and Jani ended up running into each other, and we sat down at a booth at the Rainbow and spent some time. And when I first walked up to him, he was surprised to see me. And then he said, Stevie, right here. And, Evil Dick was here too. Evil Dick was over on the side. My cousin Keith was with me. And at some point I sit next to Jani, and he literally like put his hands around my neck and acted like he was choking me. But of course it was fun and we giggled. But then at some point him and I had a little bit more of a serious discussion, and it became a little hot, a little heated, a little contested. And we went back and forth. I was firm, Jani was firm, but at some point we squashed it, kind of the same way that myself and Michael Sweet did a
Right.
couple of months ago when I ran into Michael Sweet on the cruise, and then we ended up spending some time together on the phone. And then I saw him backstage at his show, about a month and a half ago. And after that, everything was fine, and I think Jani realized that he was part of, he was part of his own reason as to why he was,
Yeah.
in the press, and not always for the right reasons. But he also came to me at some point and said, hey, the guys want to do this thing. We're doing this cherry pie contest, and we're doing this, and this. Can you run this on the site? And I was like, dude, all good. Get me some advertisements. I'll run them for free. I reached out to Jani at some point, and I said, I'd love you to work with my band that I manage, Veins of Jenna. And he knew who they were. He was excited to do that. Lizzie was actually somebody that was like, I'd love to work with Jani. It never actually happened. And soon after, 15 years ago today, this happened. So, but over the years, Jani was, he was a good guy. He really was. Like Billy said, and Jamie St. James and everybody that met him, Jani was a kind of guy that could go on stage in front of 10 or 15,000 people and make anybody in any one of those rows feel like they really knew him. He could also do that and play in a club where there was 70 people or 30.
Yeah.
He could play in a backyard barbecue,
Yeah.
He was the guy at the barbecue that said, give me that guitar, and he'd pick it up and he'd find somebody else like, hey, can you sing a harmony? And he would be the ringleader,
Yeah.
And whether it was like getting a flag football game together, or, hey, we're going to cook in the kitchen. He's like, hey, I'm making the sauce. Jani was a take charge kind of guy. And at some points it wasn't always good take charge, like, hey, we're doing 4 more shots each. And everyone's like, dude, I can't do that anymore. I got to play tonight or tomorrow, or I'm already past that point. But Jani was that guy. And today we celebrate him.
Here's a super chat, and I want to point this out because that'll kind of segue,
Mm-hmm.
word of the day,
Yep.
to a little bit of my story. But Nate Dogg something, 1976, checking in on vacation from Rhinelander, Wisconsin,
From
from
Minnesota.
Minneapolis, saw Warrant at the Iron Horse in 1996. Rest in peace, Janie. I saw Warrant for the first time on the Dog Eat Dog tour at the Bison Sports Arena. It was amazing. But when they put out Ultraphobic and they started playing clubs, they played the upper Midwest all the time.
Yep.
They would play Fargo, they'd play Minneapolis, and it felt like 3 months later they were back playing Fargo and Minneapolis.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I got Stronger Now tattooed on my shoulder in 95, and I think it was 96 at the Iron Horse in Minneapolis that I get pulled up on stage because all my buddies, I'm wearing a tank top, and all my buddies are like, Janie, look at his tattoo. We're all
Right.
drunk and fucking rotted. And so he pulled me up on stage, and a few years later, it showed up on YouTube. So here is that clip.
Fucking Stronger Now tattoo across his fucking arm. Look at him, put the fucking spotlight. That's a man who is committed. That's a man who... You have no fucking idea, folks, what that does to you. You write a fucking song, next thing you know, you see it on somebody's fucking arm. That means the fucking world to me, brother. Thank you very much. I'll tell you what, why don't you step up on the side of the stage? We're gonna get you fucked up, okay?
And let me get me back in here. They did get me fucked up because Eric Turner had a glass with tequila on the rocks, and he kept coming over and like shoving it. And I was like, "Fucking A! Somebody from Warrant wants me to drink tequila. Fucking A! I'll drink some tequila." So
Right.
anyway, Janie he brought me on the bus a couple times. I got pulled up on stage a couple times, and I'm sure I was just another fan who sat there going, "Holy fuck." I'm hanging out with Jani Lane. Like, we're sitting on the tour bus, and a couple of the guys were playing like a video game golf. And Janie's sitting beside me, and I'm probably wasted, but I'm just sitting there like I'm not like going, Janie, tell me about Doggy Dog. I'm just like, holy fuck, I can't believe I'm here. And I remember him looking at my tattoo. And he said a couple times like, wow, thank you. So actually, this is not from that Iron Horse show, but in Bismarck, North Dakota. Luckily, nobody ever had cameras around back in that day. But luckily, I think I had one of those fucking a camera you could buy. And this is in like 1996. I look like a dumbass. But anyway, there's Jani Lane looking at my Stronger Now tattoo. And he had his shirt off because I had just had my daughter, Madison, that summer of 96. And Janie was showing me his tattoos with his kids' names on them. So anyway, I'm forever thankful for however I got this picture. But yep, his songs ended up on my arms. Those tattoos ended up getting me on stage and hanging out with him at times. And when I started the channel, the first video that I ever did that really got a lot of people noticing was a tribute to Jani Lane. And here we are 15 years after his death, and we're paying tribute again. So, the guy has a huge part in my musical history.
That's awesome. And, the thing is, the songs have staying power, and the thing is, like I said earlier, it's really too bad that Janie couldn't get past whatever his demons were to go to the next part of his life. I know that when I turned 50, I think some things changed for me. Now I'm 60, even in the last few years, and completely unrelated, my girlfriend Stephanie has changed how I think in a lot of ways, and not just about her, especially in the last couple of calendar years, 25, 26. But my point is that Janie's music, Warrant's music, that stuff it's affected a lot of people. At some point, I even worked with an artist, which I pulled this up. This record, it's it's a country artist named Early Ray that Ray
Mm-hmm.
and Belshire did a cover of a song called Apple Pie. You can't really
Yep.
see it that well in here, but if you look on online or in the Sludge store, you'll see this is a, I guess they call it bro country, but it's a great CD, and this song was originally coordinated by Billy Morris and some guys in Nashville, and under the CD, there's actually some pictures of Rayan with Jani. Rayan had become
Right.
friends with Jani, had worked on a couple songs with him. He was in a couple of bands out here in Los Angeles, and then many years later, him and Billy and some guys in Nashville put together this cover of Cherry Pie that's redone as Apple Pie with some
Mm.
alternative lyrics, and it's got a country feel to it. It's very well done.
Yeah.
And everybody that heard it, Bobby Brown's in the video. Billy's actually in the video. It's got a it's not rock and roll, it's not metal, and it's not glam, but it's absolutely paying tribute to Janie's song, but in a different way. And I think if you go on the internet, you can see there's tributes and cover songs and variations of even the bands playing the songs in the bars.
Right.
When I was in Thailand, I heard bands playing Cherry Pie. All guys from Thailand or the Philippines literally singing Cherry Pie to a club full of people, and everybody's singing it. And I'd be willing to bet that probably almost nobody in that club ever got the chance to see Warrant live. A lot of them were younger, but the song has stood the test of time, as has Heaven, Down Boys, even Uncle Tom's Cabin,
Yep.
And for anybody that is a fan of Warrant or Jani Lane, those songs have meaning. And everybody's got a good story, too. You have stories. There's fans
Yep.
listening here that have stories. Billy had some, Jamie St. James. And it's a shame that Jani can't be here because he'd have some stories as well,
Yeah.
some good ones.
Yeah. Jordan Scholl says, I'd also like to add, if you haven't heard Janie's work with Saints of the Underground, that album is killer. Kerry Kelly was on that. Bobby Blotzer kind of organized that project,
Was Crane
played drums.
the bass player?
He was on the cover of the album, but in my interview, he said he did not play on it. So he was
Okay.
upset that they used his picture because he was like, dude, it was Chuck Wright
Okay, Chuck
who
was
played on
Right.
that record. So it's a super chat. So Stevie, here's a question for you. Stevie, I'm being delicate. Is Joe Listay a nice guy? I'm a fan, but curious after seeing the Bang Tango doc.
I've known Joe forever, and you know what? It's weird because Tough and Bang Tango played a few shows together, and while we were never great friends with any of those guys. I think Michael was friends with Tig, the drummer, Tig Kettler.
Mm-hmm.
But Joe Listay, and I can say this wholeheartedly, was always cool to me. Me and Joe have always gotten along. We were never drinking buddies. Joe's obviously not drinking anymore. I've actually
Mm-hmm.
recently texted with him, and I
Mm-hmm.
remember when we were on a cruise maybe 10 years ago, and Joe had been sober for a while, and I remember running into him, and I sat down, and we ended up sitting in a booth together for a little bit, and we were just talking about life and stuff. And at some point, I literally said to him, I said, Joe, I'm so glad to see that you're sober. You're on a good path. And I looked at him and I said, I don't ever want to write a article about you that I don't want to write. And he looked at me and he knew what I was talking about, and he's since, has had some health issues, but him and I have swapped some messages. I want to get him on the phone, and maybe at some point it'd be great if he came out and did an interview or something. But is Joe Listay a nice guy? He's a fucking great guy. Really nice guy, really sweet guy. And, he paid some dues. That guy's been around. Joe was playing around in clubs and it did a lot of work with Bang Tango and obviously Beautiful Creatures. And he was also He was a party guy. You know, he
Yep.
liked his drinks. I mean, I know there was a couple of times I remember we reported on Sludge. I think they were playing Chicago, and he ended up couldn't do the show, and they had to take him to he was like taken to the emergency room. Like he
And
was
they had some
a
fucking fan
fan
in the
got up.
crowd.
A fan
Yeah.
got up and sang the
It's
set.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So, I mean, it is crazy to think of all the things that have happened over the years with certain bands and certain guys, but Joe's a great guy. He's a sweetheart. I love Joe.
Awesome. Awesome. And I've been talking to him a little bit. We've been messaging
Hmm.
on Facebook, and I would love to have him come on and tell the whole story, because I think he really wants to tell the whole story, his story.
Agree.
So
I
hopefully that
agree.
happens. Here's a comment from Joni Lockhart, and I just this was so nice that I wanted to say thanks. So, Hair Metal Guru, thank you for all the Janie shows you've done. It's nice to watch someone discuss him who loves him as much as me. Keep up the great work. Love your channel, Joni. Thank you. That means a lot. I really appreciate that. And let's see what else do we got. Here's Joni also wanted to ask, any chance of getting Jerry, Joey, or Eric on for an interview? I'll just say this. I know that the Warrant camp was really impressed with what happened with the Stephen Sweet interview. It went over
Awesome.
25,000 views in whatever 7-10 days.
Hmm.
And so I do hope that we'll be able to get somebody else from Warrant on. And here's one more. Todd Rennie, just thank you for serving our country, Guru. I don't want to make it about me, but anyway, thank you. So Stevie, we're getting to about 9:10. Any last comments, about Jani Lane? Do you remember? I know we talked in our interview, about you finding out that he passed away. I don't know if you want to share any last moments about or comments about that, or
I
anything to
remember,
finish up.
I remember I had literally just landed in Brazil, which, shameless plug, I'll be going there in October. It's been 20 years since I first started going. I think this will be my 7th trip. I got a bunch of shows. Can't wait. Love Brazil. But I remember I was in Brazil in 2011. I think I was on a red eye from August 10th, the night before, and flew overnight, landed, and I was outside my hotel. And some fan came up to me and started talking to me. And then at some point, they said something like, Jani Lane has died, or something like that. And his English was a little broken, and I thought he was not really telling. I didn't think he was making sense, And I said, "What are you talking about? That's not true, And then he said pretty much what Billy just said. He said, "I saw on TMZ." He said those 3 letters, TMZ, and my heart sank, and I thought, okay, this guy in Brazil who's a fan just said Jani Lane's dead, and then told me TMZ. And I
Right.
thought, oh. And at that point, TMZ had already become a major force with news and, reported on Michael Jackson's passing and some other pretty big stories. And I thought, they're not reporting that if it's a rumor. And so then I ran into an internet cafe literally on the same block where our hotel was, logged on, went to TMZ, saw it, and I sat in that internet cafe and cried. And then I played some shows for a week or so and flew home, and then obviously I've heard all the stories over the years from people that were affiliated and close to, and, the only thing I will say is it was no one expects it, but a lot of the guys that were close and people that were in this community were not 100%. They weren't shocked because Jani had put himself in some positions with his inability to control himself and just, that's why the tours were canceled. That's why he was quitting the band and they were having to replace him, because it wasn't like he was just getting drunk. It wasn't like he was just having a
Yeah.
little fun. He
No.
had a serious issue, serious problem, where he was blacking out and didn't know what he was doing and
Yeah.
just took it to another level. And it was very
Yep.
sad. And the worst part is that he left 2 daughters.
Yep.
As a
I've had
father
yep.
myself, and seeing my kids where they're at today at 21 and 22 years of age, and seeing them grow is just the best thing in the world. So for Jani, I know that he would love to be here to see that, as would those girls love for their father to be here, along with Bobby and Roanne and his bandmates and friends and family and everybody else. But we can't go backwards. You can't take it
I've
back.
had Taylor and Madison and Bobby Brown on, and yeah, you feel your heart breaks for anybody who loses a father at that age.
Right.
I was, in fact, I was sitting on my couch. My son was 6 at the time. Charlie is barking up a storm at your boyfriend. Stop doing that, Charlie. Sitting on the couch, and my son's crawling all over me like we're watching a movie or something. I get a text, and it's my buddy, and he's like, "Hey, Lane's dead," and I'm like, "What?" And I went to Twitter back then, and you enter in Jani Lane in the search bar, and all of a sudden all these fucking things, and I just sat there and I was like, holy shit. Kind of in shock in a way, because when you were a fan like me and I wasn't on the inside like you, yeah, I mean, you knew the guy partied, but I didn't know how bad it had gotten. I
Right.
didn't know. So, texted a buddy of mine, Jeff Fox, who had gone to all those Warrant shows with me. He had Warrant tattoos. We both ended up on the bus. He was like my Warrant brother, so shout out to Jeff Fox. But texted
Right.
him, I'm like, dude, and strangely enough, the next day Warrant was playing in Grand Forks, North Dakota. I went. They did like a tribute, and a week later, I wrote like a 4,000 word article. I'd never, I mean, I have an English degree, so I can write, but I'd never written for a music site. Wrote this article, submitted it to Sleaze Rocks, and talked about my experience with Jani Lane. And that kind of became the basis for one of the first things I did on the YouTube channel. Anyway, I have a couple songs tattooed on me, and only two or two are from the same artist, and so Jani Lane, I mean, the guy had his demons, like
Right.
people will say, like we can't sit and I'm not getting negative at all, but you can't pretend like the guy was perfect. But man, I saw so many situations where I was just amazed at his ability not only to write songs, to make people feel special, and to get on stage and control a crowd like I'd never seen any. I think when people talk about the great frontmen of the, you'll hear certain names, and I think it's a travesty that his name doesn't get brought up more, because saw that guy just control a crowd like nobody I'd ever seen. So anyway, what a tragic loss.
Yeah. And I guess with that, we can also let anybody out there that has a problem of their own, or they know somebody that has one, at some point, and a lot of people say, well, that's not going to happen to me. I'm not going to do that. I recently just saw a clip, and it was a, a video that was an interview recalling what happened with Steve Clark from Def Leppard, who was 30 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously there's guys that happened before us, whether it was Jim Morrison or John Bonham, Bon Scott, some of these guys that were, these unbelievable musicians, Keith Moon, that that checked out way too early because they couldn't get a grip on their addiction, or their their issues, and it's not just guys in bands, it's people in everyday life. At some point, I've never had that issue, but I know you did. You were a
Mm-hmm.
drinker, and at some point, what is it, July 4th of 2000?
4
Yeah. And
2004.
you talk about it openly. You wear that as a badge of honor, so to speak, and say, I'm 20 plus years sober. and it is a good call, and you know, let's try to upgrade this to a positive ending.
Yep.
But
Yep. Yep.
we have Janie's music. His daughters are amazing.
Yep.
Bobby's a good person. Roanne's out there. Kim has passed away, his third wife. He still has some family out there like Eric and I believe his sister. And there's just a million fans that still, love Janie and love what he did with their music. And Warrant is still out there. And Robert Mason,
Yep.
kudos to Eric and Joey,
Totally.
Jerry and Steven, along with, Robbie who fills in for
Yep.
Jerry. And then obviously Robert Mason. Like Jamie just said, that's not an easy job.
Hell no.
It just like
Keep
it
going.
wasn't for anybody. For Sammy Hagar to fill in
Get
for
in there.
Dave, or Karabi to fill in for Vince. You know, and obviously a couple of guys have taken a swing to try to fill in for Sebastian. These are not easy jobs uh, to fill those shoes. But at some point it has to happen, and it's happened with drummers and guitarists and bass players. But when it's a singer, it's just it's that much more of a uphill battle, And so, kudos to Warrant. They're continuing to play the music, and they do a great job with it.
I'll just say this. For people who say no Janie, no Warrant, I think
Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
shame.
He passed away.
Yeah,
The guys have every right to continue to go out and play that music. Sure, Janie wrote it, but they all made that band happen.
yeah,
And so I that's ridiculous. I can't wait to see him next week at Monsters on the Mountain. You should support them. They're going out there keeping Jani Lane's songs alive.
right.
They pay tribute to him. And it really bothers me when I hear people say no Janie, no Warrant. Pay your respects to those guys for still being out there playing shows and keeping his memory and his songs out in front of the people. So,
Perfectly said. Perfectly said.
Stevie, thanks. 15 years after Jani Lane passed, we talked a while back about, hey, let's, we've already talked about Warrant, but we still got 329 people here. Fuck, let's hang
Awesome.
around for another hour. Just kidding. You guys are the best. Stevie, thanks for coming and talking about Jani Lane 15 years after he tragically passed away.
Well, thank you, Anthony. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And thank you to Billy Morris. Thank you to Jamie
Yes.
St. James. And thank you to each and every one of you for sticking around for the last 2 hours and 22 minutes. And we'll be back next week. We're going to talk about Monsters on the Mountain, which Anthony has been invited to. And he's going to be there. He's going to be hanging out. And we actually have some guests. And we kind of know who it's going to be, but we're not going to tell you just yet. But we're going to release a flyer probably late this week, and you're going to get to see who we're going to be talking with. Both of these guys, they are guys, right? Both
Yeah.
of these guys are going to be playing at Monsters on the Mountain, and you know
Yep.
them, and we know them. They're awesome people, and here's a hint: they have a first name and a last name. And both of them have a middle name. That's it.
Shit, you just gave it away. Way to go.
No,
Way
I
to
didn't.
fucking ruin the
Well, hey,
surprise.
my name. We all have a first and a last name and a middle
That's
name, don't
right.
we?
That's right. And our buddy Jason Moit, who does merch, I'll be showing because I'll be bringing a ton of merch that not to sell, to give away, like dog tags and things like that. So find me at the mountain. Anyway, we will be talking about that next week. Hey, in the description, you're going to find the link to Billy, and it's Billy Morris Band. But all of the things that he does will be linked to that website. You'll find the link to
Awesome.
Thayer St. James. Go check that out. Check out the music that he put out with Tommy Thayer. The song Bombshell I've been playing on my radio show. MetalSludge.tv. Hey, Stevie, you're one of my best friends, man. I love you. Go support Stevie Rachelle. I'm fucking Team Stevie all the way, and nobody will ever break us apart, no matter who ever tries to do that. So go to Metal Sludge and support him. You'll find the link to my Spotify if you want to donate anything to buy Charlie a dog. Charlie is over. She has been barking at her boyfriends like crazy. You guys, we almost hit 400 today. Everyone here, you are seriously, man. I can never thank people enough for supporting what it is we do here. So hey, until the next week's show, my name is Anthony. They call me the Guru. You take care of yourselves.
Middle K.